Chapter 689. Jinling Imperial City KTV. The large private room that could accommodate hundreds of people was full of people. Men and women were all young people. Everyone was chatting and laughing in groups of 3 or 5. Some were taking photos and making phone calls. The atmosphere was very lively and active. However, on the widescreen TV wall, it was not a song playing on MTV but a TV advertisement. The 5 wireless microphones used for singing were all plugged into the socket, and no one was occupying the microphone. Such a situation was absolutely rare in any KTV. However, none of the guests in the private room felt anything wrong, because they were members of Lu Chen's Jinling fan club. They were here to participate in a party tonight. One of the most important contents of this fan club party was to watch the TV series, You from the Star, which would premiere at 8 o'clock tonight on Zhejiang and Beijing satellite TV stations. This TV series could really be said to be highly anticipated. Lu Chen's fans had long been impatient, especially his fans, who had called for it countless times on the blog. Especially the last official V announcement that the premiere date was pushed back from the 15th to the 18th, which caused countless complaints. Now they finally got what they wanted. It'll start in 5 minutes. Chi Hao looked at the time and said to his girlfriend Wang Weiwei, who was sitting next to him, "Do you want me to buy you some snacks or drinks or something?" Tonight's party was organized by Chi Hao. In fact, he didn't really like the TV series made by Lu Chen. He didn't really appreciate the plot of urban men and women falling in love. But in order to make his girlfriend happy, it didn't matter at all whether he liked it or not. In Lu Chen's Jinling fan club, Chi Hao's brother Mouse was also a famous signboard. His appeal was still very strong. There were hundreds of people who wanted to participate in the event. In the end, the participants were selected through a computer just like a lottery. Chi Hao also secretly opened a small back door. Several of Wang Weiwei's close friends were all selected. Not to mention cheating, he had to run back and forth to please her. He didn't dare to let his girlfriend, who he had worked so hard to get, fly away. Wang Weiwei took Chi Hao's arm and said with a smile, "No need, your performance tonight is good enough." Her close friends liked it one after another, and Chi Hao was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. "Begin." Someone in the private room shouted, and then everyone's attention was drawn to the voice. Those who were chatting stopped talking, those who were eating snacks stopped eating, and those who were on the phone directly turned off their phones. Everyone's eyes fell on the television wall, and only the sound of the television could be heard in the private room. At the same time, thousands of loyal fans of Lu Chen and Chen Feier, a large number of passers-by, and countless fans of the drama were all sitting in front of the TV. They were waiting for a miracle to happen. Capital city Wangfu Street. This place was located in the center of the most prosperous business district in the capital. A large number of department stores, shopping malls, jewelry stores and brand stores gathered on both sides of the 1,800-meter-long street. World-famous brands could be seen everywhere. It was indeed worthy of the reputation of being a place with an inch of gold. It was the weekend, and it was 8 o'clock in the evening. Wangfu Street ushered in the busiest time of the day. There was an endless stream of traffic on the main road, and the people on both sides of the sidewalks were like weaving weaves. Countless neon lights refracted a blurred world, making it easy for newcomers to get lost in it. Lu Chen and Chen Feier were following behind a tour group, walking hand in hand on Wangfu Street. People who didn't know would think that the two of them were part of the tour group. Today was the premiere day of You from the Star. The crew was given a holiday because of the adjustment of the set. Lu Chen and Chen Feier rarely spent time alone at home, so they went shopping and watched a movie in the evening. For ordinary couples, a simple date was not easy for the two of them. In order to avoid being surrounded by crowds, Lu Chen and Chen Feier had carefully dressed up so that they could not be easily recognized. Everyone followed closely. The tour guide led the way in front, looking back from time to time at the tour group following behind. This tour group was mainly made up of elderly people, which was very common in Beijing, one of the largest tourist cities in China. Uncles and aunts from the north and south of the motherland were led to climb the Great Wall and the Forbidden City during the day. At night, they came to Wangfu Street to shop in shopping malls and jewelry stores, buying gold and gold jewelry and so on. An auntie in the tour group noticed Lu Chen and Chen Feier, who had been following behind them. She asked curiously, "Are you two also in our group?" This tour group was a single group. The main force was the elderly, but there were also a few young people. Lu Chen explained. No, we all live in Beijing. If we go out to play at night, we also go to the front. So that's how it is. The auntie was very talkative and she was very familiar with people. She simply chatted with Lu Chen. It's really good to live in Beijing. It's not like our small place. We can't even find a decent shopping mall, and there's no place to go out to play at night. At most we can dance in the square. Lu Chen said with a smile. Small places also have their advantages. The air quality is good, and the competition is not so fierce. The auntie shook her head and said, We can't find a more handsome young man than you in our land. Chen Fei, who was wearing a mask, laughed muffled. Lu Chen was very embarrassed by the compliment. Of course not. The auntie said. I'm serious. I think you look like a star and you have a good temper. Your girlfriend is really lucky. Lu Chen laughed and gave the auntie a thumbs up. After chatting for a while, the tour group turned into a jewelry store. Lu Chen and Chen Fei waved goodbye to the enthusiastic auntie. Lu Chen said with a smile, Look, others say you are lucky. Chen Fei rolled his eyes at him and asked, Are you very proud of yourself? Lu Chen smiled. Coincidentally, a little girl with flowers ran over to solicit business. Lu Chen spent 10 yuan to buy a rose and gave it to Chen Fei, which made the latter show a big smile. Unfortunately, most of her face was covered by a mask. The two walked in the bustling crowd, hands holding hands and minds, as if they could walk together until the end of time, enjoying the kind of simple and sweet happiness that only belonged to lovers. As for You from the Star, which had premiered on Zhidong Satellite TV station and Beijing television station at the same time, neither Lu Chen nor Chen Fei cared about the ratings or anything else, because at this time the two had each other and nothing else mattered. Chapter 690. 2. 35% plus 2.07%. When Lu Chen received a call from Lu Shi, he had just finished taking a shower and was about to go to bed. Tonight he had dinner with Chen Fei, went shopping and watched a movie. Fortunately, he completed a sweet date without being disturbed. Although the two had been living together for a long time, such days were really rare. In contrast, Lu Chen really didn't care much about the premiere of You from the Star tonight. Lu Chen has enough confidence in this TV series. The huge popularity accumulated by the first two works, the carefully set and repeatedly revised plot, plus the first-class shooting team and special effects production at all costs, coupled with the soundtrack that he personally completed, there is absolutely no possibility of failure. But the ratings of the first episode that Lu Shi just told him still surprised Lu Chen. 2. 35% plus 2.7% equals 4.42%. What kind of concept is this? Nowadays, the average ratings of domestic TV series are generally around 1%, and many of them are even only 0.1% or 0.2%, but they still continue to be broadcasted on the screen, and they do not stop broadcasting. Popular TV series are basically above 1.5%, and the phenomenal threshold is 3%. A TV series that can reach an average rating of 3% can definitely make a group of actors popular, make the producers make a lot of money, and make the broadcasters wake up with a smile even in their dreams. It was precisely because of this that, after tasting the huge sweetness brought by Full House of Romance, the two major satellite TV stations, Zhidong and Beijing, were staring at You from the Star, and would not let go at all costs to win the premiere broadcast rights. There was no doubt that their insistence was reasonable and extremely smart. Zhidong Satellite TV scored a rating of 2.35% and Beijing Television TV was slightly inferior, but also broke the 2% threshold. The two added up to a rating of 4.42% for the first episode, which was not only phenomenal, but basically close to the mythical level. Therefore, Lu Shi sent good news to Lu Chen as soon as possible. Although the ratings of TV series were announced the next day, it was not difficult for anyone with some connections to obtain data from the New Visual Distance Company, a subsidiary of the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television, in advance. Also, it wasn't just the two satellite channels and Chen Fei Media that had gotten the data from New Vision. As long as it was a company or an artist that had participated in the filming, it would definitely include other film and television production companies. This result was enough to make some people with ulterior motives speechless. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and plots were useless. The elder sister was very happy and said, "I have a lot of people here. Everyone is going out to celebrate. Are you coming?" Lu Chun smiled and said, "I'm not going. You guys have fun. The company will pay for all the expenses tonight." Tonight, Lu Shi stayed in the company to keep an eye on the 2 satellite TV stations in order to get first-hand information. In other words, it was the viewership ratings of a television series. If it was a variety show, she would have called much earlier. Lu Shi said straightforwardly, "All right then, rest early and send my regards to Fei." Lu Chun nodded and hung up the phone. Just at this time, Chunfer came in with a facial mask and asked, "Who called?" Lu Chun shook the mobile phone in his hand and said, "It's my sister. The total viewership of You Star is 42%. Ha! Of course Chun Fei knew what this meant and couldn't help but smile. His facial mask almost fell off. Lu Chun continued, "My sister is going out to celebrate and asked if we wanted to go. I said yes." Chun Fei smiled and said, "We should make everyone happy. Everyone in the company has worked hard during this time." Before You from the Star started shooting, Chunfei Media had put most of its manpower into this project, especially the newly established special effects production department, which had started busy work in advance. Although the company had invested a lot of money in the special effects team and hired experienced supervisors, the team was still very young and lacked enough experience, so the pressure of the work was very heavy. Many employees worked hard to learn while working, and the final product did not disappoint. Although there was still a long way to go from the top level of the industry for the TV series You Star, it had shown enough sincerity. It was natural to get a reward for their hard work. The company had prepared a reward plan. You from the Star was also very special. The investment budget was very high, but before the start of filming, the investment was basically recovered and even made a profit. Lu Chun was now more interested in the fans and the audience's evaluation of You Star. He took a laptop from the study and first logged on to the official blog of You Star. Because it had been 2 or 3 hours since the first episode was broadcast, there were many people who went to the official blog to comment. Under the latest blog post, the number of comments exceeded 100,000. "I'm going to follow this TV series. Please maintain the standard. It's so good. Lu Chun is so handsome." The male lead played by Lu Chun is actually an alien. No wonder it's called You from the Star. Interesting. Haha, is this Chen Fei-er's performance? The interaction between the two is so loving. I like the male lead so much. There were basically good comments in the official blog and only a few comments were not so good. However, compared to the number of likes, the number was almost negligible, and some of the negative comments were obviously meant to be negative. For a TV series, unless it was too high or too low, the ratings of the first episode were not too important. The key was the trend of the second and third episodes. The ratings of the first episode of You Star were very amazing. There was no doubt that there would be considerable pressure to continue to maintain or even increase it. In this way, the audience's reputation was extremely important, and the market's response determined the subsequent potential. Lu Chun opened the official forum of You from the Star, and was surprised to find that the number of followers on the official forum had reached more than 500,000, at least twice as much as the last time he saw it. The posts on the official forum were more informative than the blog. Many veteran fans had posted a lot of long comments on the first episode, along with analysis of the subsequent plot. Some of the best posts were very good, and even Lu Chun was quite impressed by them, and some even guessed the direction of the plot. As he read, Lu Chun was unaware of the passage of time, and Chun Fei had been leaning on him, watching the comments on the internet with him. Then when Lu Chun felt something strange, he found that Chun Fei had fallen asleep leaning on him. Her mask had long been torn off, and there was a sweet smile on her beautiful and delicate face. Lu Chun carefully turned off the computer, kissed her on the face and fell asleep with her. Chapter 691. The next day, the entertainment pages of major domestic media were flooded by You from the Star. Traditional media such as newspapers and periodicals are still more reserved, and because of the timeliness of the news, they did not give much space. However, online media pursue eyeball effects, and naturally they are particularly exaggerated. Several portal entertainment channels have given eye-catching headlines. For 42%, The ratings of the first episode of You from the Star can really make a group of people kneel down. It's embarrassing not to make headlines, which will make people doubt the slowness and numbness of the website. Ordinary audiences may not understand the significance of this, but in the industry, it is tantamount to an earthquake. It turns out that the ratings of a TV series can reach such a high level. The most important thing is that in addition to the amazing ratings, the first episode of You has received a lot of praise on the internet. And it's all tap water. The audience's reputation is the most direct. If they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Their evaluation of a movie or TV series is very subjective, so it's very not easy to win the unanimous approval of the audience and spontaneously help promote it, which is undoubtedly the greatest praise. The fans and the audience's praise is overwhelming, and the industry and professionals do not disagree. Many blogs, big and small v, and even star artists have commented on You, a famous film and television critic. A very sincere work, which can let people see the creator's heart and efforts. A well-known director. Compared with Autumn in My Heart, and full of romance, I like You from the Star more. From it, we can see the progress of Ms. Feng Hui. Here I would like to pay tribute to this colleague. A media, fresh and unique creativity, a plot that can attract the audience's desire to appreciate, and two idol stars with increasingly superb acting skills. The success of You from the Star is inevitable. A screenwriter. The CG special effects at the beginning of You from the Star made my eyes light up. It is said that it was made by Chunfei Media's own special effects team. Big praise. An artist. Is this considered overpraise? Lu Chun couldn't help laughing when he saw the response of online public opinion sent by the company after sorting it out on the computer. You from the Star was very successful, and he was full of confidence, but it was undoubtedly abnormal to receive such one-sided praise, especially when some media outlets praised the TV series to the sky. Some of the words used made Lu Chun feel goosebumps all over his body. This time, Chunfei Media did not spend much on public relations for the premiere of Xingyu. These media definitely did not take his money. It was too strange for them to brag so much. No matter how popular an artist or a movie or TV series was, there would always be haters and critics. There would always be people who would try their best to find faults and attack them in order to show that they were different from others. One could even pick out bones from an egg. As long as one was willing to dig up dirt, they would be able to dig it up. If that didn't work, they could just twist it a little and create a big controversy. That way, they would be able to gain popularity and wouldn't be afraid of people scolding them. The public relations department of Chunfei Media also noticed this abnormal situation and specially added a note. Chun Fei replied disdainfully, "That goes without saying. The first episode of You from the Star had just been broadcast. According to the shooting plan, there were still 34 episodes to go. The first episode was already praised to such a high level, then the pressure in the future would be very great. Moreover, this TV series was a weekly drama, which used the mode of filming and broadcasting at the same time. It was impossible for the crew not to see these public comments, which would inevitably have a certain impact. If all the filming had been completed, then it didn't matter how others praised it, and it would also save on publicity costs." Chen Fei had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years, and he had seen and heard a lot of tricks in the entertainment industry. At a glance, he could see the dark intentions and purpose of these media outlets. These overly flattering media outlets did not have any direct grievances with Chunfei Media. What drove them to do this was nothing more than their peers in the industry. 42%. This rating was frightening. How could there not be jealousy? Moreover, the ratings of the TV series broadcast by other TV stations at the same time were bound to be seriously squeezed. How could it not provoke hostility? They would definitely not be able to fight head-on, so they simply helped to create momentum and help you to the sky. Once there were problems with the subsequent episodes, they would do their best to step on it, and their purpose would be achieved. As for the media, they could not wait for the two sides to fight to the death. The fiercer the fight, the more they would earn. For example, if Chunfei Media felt pressure and wanted to cool down, as long as they were willing to spend money on them, it would not be a problem. Some newcomers did not understand the mystery, and often suffered a big loss because of this. "Forget about them," Lu Chan said decisively. "They praise them and will film ours. There was no way to argue directly when encountering this kind of thing. They could not sue these media outlets for being too flattering, could they? Either they spent money to eliminate the disaster, or they ignored it, letting the wind blow in their ears. Lu Chun decisively chose the latter. His choice stemmed from strong confidence. Since the establishment of You from the Star, the script alone had been polished for more than half a year, and it had been comprehensively improved and optimized on the basis of the memory of another world. To put it bluntly, the new script was at least 2 streets ahead of the original. In addition to retaining the basic setting and plot outline, Lu Chun added a lot of characters and stories in it, big enriched the plot. In terms of filming and production, the investment budget of You from the Star was more than 100 million, and all the costs were recovered before filming began. Therefore, there was no financial problem, and increasing the budget was a simple matter. The most important thing was that the crew of You from the Star was very strong. Some of the staff were the old crew of Autumn in My Heart, and director Feng Hui had cooperated with Lu Chun in the previous 2 dramas. Both sides had a very good understanding. There was no problem with the internal unity of the crew, and now was the time when morale was high. In addition, the CG, which should have been a weak link, was also big because of Chunfei Media's large investment in the special effects team. Although it was not the best, it was at least passable and would not be held back. With all these factors, if Lu Chun was still afraid of any death by flattery, it would be a joke. The story of You from the Star became more and more exciting as it went on, and those who played tricks behind the scenes would only end up going for wool and coming home shorn, wasting their efforts. Chunfei gently hugged Lu Chun and kissed him on the cheek. What she admired and liked the most was Lu Chun's strong self-confidence that came from the heart. Next was Lu Chun's talent. Chapter 692. You too, can you take care of my feelings? Regarding Chunfei and Lu Chun's love, someone complained bitterly. Don't treat me as if I don't exist. Chunfei smiled and immediately let go of Lu Chun, pounced on her, hugged her, and kissed her hard on the cheek. Is this okay? Are you satisfied? Tian suddenly blushed. You're so annoying. If I had known, I wouldn't have come. She flew to Beijing last night and stayed at Chunfei and Lu Chun's house as before. Chunfei said with a smile, I said you don't have to come. We'll go to Hangzhou in a few days. Who insisted on coming? In a few days at the end of this month, Lu Chun, Chunfei Shifang, and Liao Jiao would all participate in the concert in Hangzhou. Tian couldn't help but roll her eyes and was speechless. Lu Chun turned off the computer, got up and said, Okay, let's go together. Today he was going to see Jejentana with Chunfei and Tian, and then Tian would take Jejentana back to Hangzhou first. The latter would also participate in the concert as a special guest. Jejentana was a Mongolian girl who had just turned 14 this year. She was discovered by Lu Chun when he went to the Mongolian steppe to visit Chunfei's class, and was signed by Chunfei. After the 2 studios of Lu Chun and Chunfei merged to form Chunfei Media, Jejentana became the first signed artist of the new company, and she was still a minor star. Jejentana had been studying in Beijing, including cultural courses, singing, dancing, and other training. And the place where she studied was the famous Huakai Arts Training Academy in Beijing. Huakai Art Training Academy is jointly established by 2 advanced professional schools, Jingyin and Jingying. It mainly trains non-academic artistic talents for the whole society, covering music, dance, performance, art, and other artistic categories. It is divided into juvenile classes and adult classes, with a 4-year schooling period. Huakai Academy is equivalent to a vocational training school. The threshold for admission is not high. It gives students who want to enter the literary and entertainment circles, but can't get into famous schools such as Jingyin and Jingying, another option. Of course, the diploma of Huakai Academy is far from as famous as that of Jingyin and Jingying, but the tuition fee is very expensive. However, the teaching quality of Huakai is very high. There are teachers from Jingyin and Jingying who come to teach part-time, so it has become the best choice for many artists for further training. Although it was still summer vacation, Jejentana did not return to her home in the Great Plains. Instead, she continued her studies at the Colorful Academy, so that she could keep up with the progress of the other students in the new school year. She had a heavenly voice, but her foundation was very weak. Since she had chosen this path, she had to put in more effort than others. When Lu Chan, Chan Fei, and Tian Tian arrived at Huakai Academy, Jejutana was practicing leg stretching in the dance room. Shoulder opening, leg stretching, and hip opening are basic skills in dance. Leg stretching and hip opening are undoubtedly quite painful for this 14-year-old little girl with no foundation. But she practiced meticulously with her classmates under the guidance of the teacher. She was sweating profusely and did not cry or complain of tiredness. Chan Fei was a little distressed when he saw this. Jejutana studies very hard. The teacher who accompanied the three of them said softly, "She is more competitive than others and can bear hardships very well." Nowadays, children are very delicate and are used to being pampered. Most of the students who can enter the juvenile class of Huakai Academy come from wealthy families, so it is not easy to train them. A talented student like Jejutana, who is willing to endure hardships and work hard, is naturally particularly favored by the teacher. I don't think she will have any problem taking the Jingyin exam in the future. This is a very high praise. Every year, at least tens of thousands of students apply for Jingyin, but only a few hundred are finally admitted, and more students are told that there is no hope at the beginning. Lu Chan and Chan Fei did not disturb the practice in the dance room until the end of the class, when the teacher of the academy brought Jejutana, who had just changed her clothes. Big brother Lu Chan. Seeing the two of them, Jejutana was very happy. "Sister Fei, why are you here?" Her voice was exceptionally clear and loud, so that everyone in the dance room could hear it clearly. It immediately caused a huge sensation, and everyone gathered around. "It really is Lu Chan and Chan Fei." Several little girls let out screams of surprise. You can occasionally see one or two stars in the Huakai Academy, but there are really no big shots like these two. The teacher of the academy hurriedly stopped them, so that Lu Chan and the others could escape in time, otherwise they would really be surrounded. Back in the car, Jejutana was still very excited, pulling Chan Fei and chattering non-stop. Chan Fei lovingly touched her sweaty little head and said, "Sister Jejutana, let me introduce you. This is Sister Tian Tian. She will take you to Hangzhou first." Jejutana said with a smile, "Hello, Sister Tian Tian. You are so beautiful, just like an oriole on the prairie." Tian Tian beamed with joy and took the little girl's hand affectionately. "Hello, Sister Jejutana." Her little mouth was really too sweet, so cute, and really lovable. She quickly became familiar with Jejutana, then helped Jejutana get clothes and other daily necessities from the dormitory, and finally took Lu Chen's car to the headquarters of Chenfei Media. Jejutana was the first to come to Beijing, accompanied by her mother. Later, after Chan Fei arranged for her to enter the Huakai Academy to study, her mother returned to the prairie. Jejutana had always lived in the academy dormitory. The little girl had a very strong character, and her yearning for and pursuit of music was very firm. Although she missed her hometown and family very much, she did not back down halfway. Lu Chan and Chan Fei, because they were usually too busy with work, rarely had time to visit her. Instead, it was her sister Lu Shi who often went over to give her things. This was also to make up for it. This time, with the opportunity of the voice concert, Lu Chan and Chan Fei decided to help her officially debut on stage together, and the three of them would sing a new work together. Before this, Jejutana became popular on the internet because of her singing Beautiful Prairie My Home. But as time passed, not many people still remembered this beautiful Mongolian girl. Lu Chan planned to create a tailor-made album with the style of the prairie for Jejutana this year. The next day, Jejutana flew to Hangzhou with Tian Tian. She began a new life that belonged to her. Chapter 693. You from the Star premiered on August 18th, and Zhidong Satellite TV and Beijing Television won a total of 4.42% of the ratings. The second episode aired the next day on the 19th, and the ratings broke through 5%. Although it is not possible to rely on the first two episodes to judge the overall ratings of a TV series, basically no one inside or outside the circle questioned the success of You from the Star. The media's speculation about You from the Star was more focused on the average ratings that the TV series could achieve in the end. On the same night on the 19th, the Korean dubbed version of You from the Star premiered on South Korea's KGS TV station. Due to the two popular dramas Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance as the basis, coupled with KGS's vigorous publicity, especially because there were two South Korean artists in You from the Star, You from the Star was highly anticipated by South Korean TV audiences before it was broadcasted. The result did not disappoint. The ratings of You from the Star that night reached 29.25%, only 0.75% away from reaching the 30% super high line. Moreover, the following rate on the internet was as high as 90%, and its reputation was no worse than that in China. When the news returned to China, it caused another sensation in the media. The fans of Lu Chan and Chan Fair were of course cheering and applauding loudly. Many friendly and neutral media were generous in their praise, which also made those guys who had the intention of killing them by praising them feel very embarrassed. The reason was very simple. No matter how much they praised You from the Star, it seemed very pale in comparison to the great success that You from the Star had already won. As for the effect being completely ineffective, it was just advertising You from the Star in vain. If they continued, it would just be throwing money into the water. If they gave up now, it would be really unbearable. It was undeniable that from Autumn in My Heart to Full House of Romance, and then to You from the Star that had just been broadcasted, the two male and female protagonists, Lu Chan and Chan Fair, had raised their status in the TV circle to the top and ranked among the real big stars. But the two of them made their debut as singers, especially Lu Chan, who had only debuted for 2 years. A commentator wrote on the blog, "I think that Lu Chan's greatest success is not the number of outstanding musical works he has written, nor the number of successful TV roles he has acted in, but the TV scripts he has written have subverted the entire industry." This commentator's remarks were obviously too exaggerated. Lu Chan's success was undeniable, but he certainly didn't reach such a height when it came to disrupting the industry. At most, it could only be said that he had a great impact. However, many people in the industry liked the blog post and forwarded it. Before Lu Chan filmed Autumn in My Heart, there were a lot of youth idol dramas and urban romance dramas on domestic TV screens, and there was a serious problem of homogeneity. The plots copied and imitated each other. The settings were messy, and the stories were contradictory. It was a common problem. The audience had long been tired of watching TV, and would rather support Korean and Japanese dramas than waste time on Chinese dramas. Autumn in My Heart changed this situation. Although Autumn in My Heart was a tragedy, Lu Chan, who was creating a TV series for the first time, told the story very well. The plot was told in an unhurried manner, and the rough love between the male and female leads was even more touching. Whether it was the quality of the shooting of the series or the dubbing and music, they were all first class. Therefore, Autumn in My Heart was a success and became a mess, and it also attracted countless imitators. For a time in the domestic TV industry, the story of the male or female lead suffering a terminal illness or a car accident was popular. Then Lu Chan launched Full House of Romance. He did not eat up the success of Autumn in My Heart. He jumped out of the successful template of sad sadomasochism and filmed a warm and pleasant romantic light comedy, and then ruthlessly trampled on a group of peers. Until now, You from the Star played with science fiction and CG. It had always been imitated but never surpassed. Many people may not be convinced because in the TV industry, Lu Chan did not have many qualifications, nor did he get a pile of awards to prove himself. He was too young, but they had to be convinced because the 3 TV series with heaven-defying ratings were the thickest qualifications, and the audience's reputation was the best trophy, more important than any TV awards. What should really be embarrassed was that the so-called mainstream in the industry intentionally or unintentionally suppressed and ignored Lu Chan and the urban romance trilogy he represented. Now that they can't pretend anymore, they can't continue to cover their eyes and shout, "I can't see." Right? A columnist said sarcastically on his blog. Wouldn't that be the biggest joke? What people did not expect was that one of the results of the huge ratings of You from the Star was actually a deep reflection and discussion in the industry on Lu Chan and the films and TV series created by Lu Chan. On August 25th, the 3rd episode of You from the Star was broadcast, and the ratings easily broke through 6%, reaching 6.27%. On August 26th, the 4th episode had a rating of 7.79%, sweeping the market in an invincible manner. More and more viewers, under the recommendation of the fans, became loyal viewers of You from the Star. On the same day, South Korea's KGS TV broadcast the 3rd episode of You from the Star, and the ratings broke through 40%, causing the South Korean media to cry wolf once again. On the evening of August 27th, Central TV Department 2's Hotspot invited many guests to discuss and analyze the huge success of View from the Star, as well as the social impact it had. Hotspot was one of Central TV Department 2's famous programs. It was broadcast once a week, and the content closely followed the current hot topics and influential social events. The invited guests were all authoritative professionals in the relevant industries. Since the official broadcast of this program, this was the first time they discussed a TV series, and it was a TV series with an urban romance theme. Could be considered a first. In this episode of Hotspot, several guests commented on the success of View from the Star, believing that the reason this TV series could win over countless viewers was not because of vulgarity or unscrupulous competition, but because of the excellent production, wonderful story, and sincere attitude. That night, Hotspot achieved the highest ratings since its first broadcast. After the program was broadcast, the number of media reporters who came to Chanfei Media's headquarters in Huairou Film City suddenly increased by several times. Everyone wanted to know what Lu Chan thought about this, but they all pounced on empty air. Because on the morning of the 28th, Lu Chan and Chanfei took the earliest flight to Hangzhou. The two of them would participate in the Voice of China concert on the evening of the 30th. Chapter 694. Under normal circumstances, Lu Chan and Chanfei only needed to arrive in Hangzhou on the 29th, participate in one rehearsal at most, and then sing on the evening of the 30th. There was no need to rush there in advance. For stars like the two of them, their daily schedule was usually very tight, and it was not easy to squeeze out a few days of time. If they really couldn't make it, it would not be strange for them to return on the same day. It was really because of the recent popularity of Xingyu. The two of them were in the limelight too much. They were surrounded by paparazzi every day in Beijing, so Lu Chan simply asked Fang Hui to rearrange the shooting plan of the crew, and he took Chanfei to Hangzhou in advance. It could be considered as hiding from the limelight. Due to the confidentiality of the itinerary, the media did not get the news, so the two of them smoothly moved into their new home in Hangzhou and were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. The first thing they did when they got home, Chanfei called Tian. "We have arrived in Hangzhou." Tian was shocked. "Damn, when did you get here? Didn't you say tomorrow?" It was rare for the former beautiful host of Zhejiang satellite TV station to swear. She was really too excited. "That's great, my station just asked me for help. They want to invite you two to do an interview together." "What do you mean by your station? You have already resigned, okay?" Chanfei said angrily. "We came here in advance to hide from the limelight, not to stand out. You just keep it to yourself. Don't tell others." "No sense of loyalty," Tian said contemptuously, then said with a smile. "Then I'll bring you some food. You have to eat at home, right? How about bringing Jejentana along?" Of course Chanfei had no objection, so that night Tian brought Jejentana over, and the four of them had a very happy dinner at home. The next afternoon, everyone rushed to Hangzhou Huanglong Stadium to participate in the rehearsal of the voice concert. Zhejiang satellite TV station attached great importance to this concert, and had made all kinds of arrangements long before the finals of China's Voice. So when Lu Chan and the others arrived at the concert venue, the stadium that could accommodate 75,000 spectators had basically been set up. 3 giant screens surrounded the central stage. Laser stage lights hung high in the air, and the 20-meter-long logo of the Voice of China hung in the middle of the stage. It was extremely eye-catching. There were also many staff members working on the stage. In the backstage area, Lu Chan and Chanfei met Shifang and Liao Jia, who had just arrived in Hangzhou this morning. The 4 coaches of the Voice of China gathered once again. Chanfei introduced Jejentana to the two of them. "Is this the girl who will be singing on stage tomorrow night?" Shifang was very fond of the beautiful and sweet Jejentana. She held her little hand and asked, "How old are you this year?" Jejentana replied sweetly, "Sister Shifang, I'm 14 years old this year." "Only 14 years old." Shifang felt a little distressed. "You're already singing at such a young age. Where are your parents?" Jejentana replied, "Dad and Mom are at home in the grasslands." Shifang shook her head, hugged and kissed her again, and then asked Lu Chan, "What song will she sing?" Lu Chan said, "She'll sing a solo song, and then Fair and I will sing the second song with her. Shifang said to Jejitana. Come on, sister, we'll watch your rehearsal. The rehearsal for the concert had begun a few days ago, and the top 10 contestants of The Voice of China, except for the champion and Xian, had arrived in Hangzhou yesterday, including Tong Xinyao, who had signed with Chunfei Media. In the afternoon, Tong Xinyao was also in Huanglong Stadium. She was very excited about attending her first concert in her life, but when she went on stage to sing, she went off-key and had to do it again to return to her normal level. Jejitana appeared after Tong Xinyao. Her first song was the song written by Lu Chan. The Beautiful Grassland Is My Home. This song, which had a strong grassland flavor, had long been sung all over the country and became a well-known work. Later, it was chosen by Ming Province as the theme song for tourism promotion. Jejitana also became famous because of this song. Now that she was standing on a bigger stage to sing, her performance was even better than Tong Xinyao's. She did not have any stage fright and easily completed her first rehearsal. Her second song was a new work, specially written by Lu Chan for her, and with the addition of Chun Fair it was a three-person duet. Or more accurately, it was a three-person duet. After the new song was finished, Lu Chan, Chunfer and Jejitana went backstage. Shifang was the first to applaud, and then she said to Lu Chan sincerely, Lu Chan, can I ask you for a favor? Lu Chan was more or less taken aback and quickly said, Hello, Sister Shifang. As long as I can help you, I'll do it. Lu Chan had always respected Shifang, and Shifang had also helped him a lot in the past. Not to mention, for the recently concluded China's Voice, Shifang came to the mainland to be a mentor because of him. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to hire her under normal circumstances. Although Shifang has gained a lot of popularity because of China's Top Voice and returned to the eyes of the Chinese audience, Lu Chan still firmly remembered this favor. Shifang smiled and said, It's not a big deal. It's just the song you guys sang just now. Can you let me sing it with Jejitana? I really like this song, and I feel that it's more suitable for me to sing it. Lu Chan and Chun Fair could not help but look at each other. They did not expect Shifang to make such a request. Shifang was definitely not trying to steal the limelight. She was not that shallow, and the song was actually meant to support Jejitana. Jejitana was a red flower, and the two of them were supporting the singer. It was impossible for Shifang not to know that. The only explanation was that she really liked the song. Moreover, what she said made sense. The age difference between Lu Chan, Chun Fair, and Jejitana was not that big, so it would not be easy to reflect the charm of the song. Lu Chan scratched his head. Of course, that's not a problem. Who's going to sing the male voice? Shifang was definitely going to replace Chan Fair, so it would be very inappropriate for him to continue singing the male voice. Let me do it, a voice came from the side. Lu Chan could not help but turn his head and saw Liao Jia looking at him with a smile. Liao Jia and Shifang. Such a combination was not much worse than Lu Chan and Chan Fair, and their ages were the most suitable. He could not help but laugh. Since you've already said it, I have no choice but to agree. All right then. Shifang also laughed and playfully winked at Jejitana. Right at that moment, Tian rushed backstage. She brought some bad news to Lu Chan, which was that Anshin would be absent from the concert. Chapter 695. The first Good Voice concert held by Zhejiang Satellite TV Station is equivalent to the celebration of the Voice of China. According to the established rules, a concert will be held after every season of The Voice. The main force of the concert is 4 mentors, the top 10 students and 3 special guests. The duration of the concert is about 3 hours. For the top 10 students of The Voice, they are both obligated and necessary to participate in this concert. And Anshin is the champion of The Voice of China. This concert is an excellent opportunity for her to show her face. There is absolutely no reason to miss it, not to mention the agreement with Zhejiang Satellite TV Station. However, she broke the promise. What's going on? Lu Chan was very surprised. Although because of the signing problem, Chunfei Media, which he represented, had a conflict with Anshin. But if Anshin did not participate in the voice concert because of this, it would be incredible. Or did she want to frame Chunfei Media, saying that he and Chun Fair deliberately suppressed and did not let Anshin play? Isn't this too ridiculous? Tian said with a wry smile. She's in the hospital. Anxin was hospitalized in Beijing. The cause was gastric bleeding and mild alcoholism. Drinking too much. And it was not caused by others' persuasion. It was the result of her drowning her sorrows in alcohol. Tian said. Her assistant called me. She said that Anxin had a falling out with her agent. She's very regretful now. She said that she shouldn't have believed the agent's nonsense and put herself in a difficult situation. So that was the case. Lu Chun understood and sighed and said, then I'll talk to the company and send someone to visit. Anxin is not bad in nature, and her singing talent is really excellent. Otherwise it would be impossible to win the championship of The Voice. It's just that the sudden huge attention made her mentally unbalanced for a while, coupled with the agent's urging, so she made a mistake step by step. Before coming to Hangzhou, Lu Chun learned from Zhonghua Automobile that Zhonghua Automobile had given up asking Anxin to endorse their new model, and this endorsement contract was prepared to be completed by Tong Xinyao, who had just signed with Chunfei Media. Undoubtedly, Zhonghua Motors made such a decision after learning that Chunfei Media refused to sign Anxin, which has a lot to do with Lu Chun, because Lu Chun is the biggest and best star ambassador of Zhonghua Motors, and the two sides have a very good cooperative relationship. In Lu Chen's new drama, You from the Star, Zhonghua Automobile is the only car brand with advertising implantation. With the help of this mythical TV series, it has gained a wave of popularity, especially the male lead's car, the Chunghua Jinji K350, whose sales had increased several times in half a month. With such a background, it's normal for Zhonghua Automobile to give up Anxin. Without Lu Chen's support, Anxin can't support the brand of Zhonghua Automobile. She doesn't even have her own works. In comparison, Tong Xinyao, who replaced Anxin to join Chunfei Media, was undoubtedly the best choice. In terms of appearance, Tong Xinyao was much better than Anxin. Lu Chun put himself in Anxin's shoes. If he were Anxin, he would probably be depressed too. It should be known that the endorsement contract of Zhonghua Automobile can not only improve one's status, but also bring rich benefits. But because of a wrong decision, it turned into a bubble which no one could accept. It's not strange for her to drown her sorrows in alcohol, but she drank a little too much. I used to despise her, ungrateful. Tian sighed and said, but now I feel a little sorry for her. I heard from her assistant that she had fired her agent. She would rather go to court than continue to make mistakes. She was very clear about the cause and effect of the whole thing, and she really felt sorry for Anxin. Because of Chunfei, Tian had gotten to know Anxin when they were working on the soundtrack. Therefore, Anxin had her personal phone number, and her assistant had called her to ask for leave. Xinyu. Lu Chen's lips curled up into a sneer. Xinyu's side is probably going to jump up and down. But at this point, if an Xian really shed all pretense of cordiality and made things bigger, it's estimated that Xinyu's side will have a headache. It was unlikely to go to court, but it was not a problem to terminate the contract. After all, Anxin's commercial value had decreased a lot. Xinyu went for wool and came home shorn. She had really shot herself in the foot. After thinking about it, Lu Chun took his cell phone and found a number from his address book. The other side quickly picked up. Hey big star. How come you have time to call me? The voice of the other side was very soft, with a kind of resentful tone, like a woman who was abandoned by Lu Chun. Lu Chun was speechless. He paused and said, Mr. Su, I have something serious to talk to you about. He called Su Qingmei, the director of Light Rain Media. Speaking of which, Lu Chun and Su Qingmei had known each other for a long time, much earlier than Chunfei. Su Qingmei had a good eye for talent. When Lu Chun was singing at Forget Grass Bar, she had the intention to sign him. Unfortunately, she was only willing to give Lu Chun a rookie contract, and in the end, she missed out on a real potential stock. Actually, with Su Qingmei's situation at that time, if Su Qingmei could take out a generous contract to tempt Lu Chun, he might really sign it. Anyway, it was fate that brought them together. Light Rain Media later signed the Bionics and made a name for themselves in the industry. They had always been working with the original Lu Chun studio. Hearing Lu Chun talk about serious business, Su Qingmei immediately became more serious. What's up? When she first met Lu Chun, she looked down on Lu Chun, but now she was almost looking up to him. She could joke a little but not too much. Lu Chun asked, Anxin, do you know about it? Su Qingmei was surprised. The champion of the Voice of China? As someone in the industry, she was very well informed. I heard that she fell out with you guys because of the contract? Lu Chan did not deny it, but simply explained Anxin's current situation. Su Qingmei was very smart and immediately understood. You want us to sign Anxin? Lu Chan smiled. Anyway, that's what happened. It's up to you guys to decide whether to sign it or not. Su Qingmei said without hesitation. Of course we'll sign it. As the champion of the Voice of China, Anxin's popularity was currently very high. Even if the contract signing incident had a great impact, if nothing had happened, Light Rain Media would not have had a chance. It was practically a free lunch. Lu Chan said. Then contact my sister. You can come with me to visit her. Su Qingmei said happily. Thank you. I'll treat you to a meal when we get back to Beijing. Lu Chan laughed involuntarily. He was about to hang up when he heard Su Qingmei say, Lu Chan, you are a good person. Chapter 696. You're such a nice guy. This was the second nice guy card that Lu Chan had received today. It was a gift from Chan Fei. Of course, it wasn't really a nice guy card. Chan Fei's eyes were full of tenderness and charm. Lu Chan sighed. Maybe. But it's hard to be a nice guy now. I hope Anxin can learn from her mistakes. He knew that Anxin came from a poor family and had to work to support her family at a young age. Life was hard for her. It was understandable that she wanted a better contract with Chan Fei Media. People who had experienced real hardship often sought a sense of security. Anxin just wanted to give herself enough security so that she could leave her past life. That was why she was persuaded by her agent to play so many tricks with Sanyu. Of course, Lu Chan could understand her and forgive her, but he wouldn't sign her back to Chan Fei Media. Although she was willing to do that, it would go against Lu Chan's principles. Out of sympathy and understanding, Lu Chan recommended her to Su Qingmei. Joining Light Rain Media was a good choice for Anxin. Light Rain Media had a good reputation in the industry, and its performance was excellent. Her talent wouldn't be wasted. That was all Lu Chan could do for her. After calling Su Qingmei, he told Chan for everything. Chan Fei listened to Lu Chan quietly. Then she held his hand and gave him a sweet kiss. She said, I hope you have a clear conscience. Lu Chan nodded his head and smiled at Chan Fei. Everything was said without words. That was the end of the matter. That night, Chan Fei received a call from Anxin in the hospital. She was sobbing on the phone. In the afternoon, Lu Shi and Su Qingmei went to the hospital where Anxin was staying to express their sympathy and goodwill from Lu Chan and Chan Fei. Anxin was very touched. She accepted their goodwill and decided to sign with Light Rain Media. She felt sorry for them. Also, she couldn't make it to the concert. Chan Fei didn't say much. She just comforted Anxin and hung up. As she said, it was good to have a clear conscience. The next day, August 30th, was the day of the Sing, China's All-Stars concert. For the audience of The Voice of China, they have been waiting for this concert featuring Lu Chan, Chan Fei, Shifang, Liao Jiaoyan and the top 10 students of The Voice of China for a long time. Finally, they got what they wanted. The tickets for the concert were basically sold out a month ago. The price of the most common seats was 388 yuan, and the best VIP seats were 5,888 yuan. But it still couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the fans. In the morning, Lu Chan drove to Hangzhou High-Speed Rail Station. At 10 o'clock, he saw a familiar figure in the bustling crowd outside the passenger passage. Xiao Shui. The girl with the bag on her back heard his shout and immediately ran over excitedly. Brother. Although Lu Chan was wearing a pair of big sunglasses, Lu Shui recognized him immediately. She smiled happily. The people around them couldn't help but look at the brother and sister who had been separated for a long time. But Lu Chan couldn't leave immediately. His mother, Fang Yun, had come with Fang Yun. Fortunately, Fang Yun quickly followed. Lu Chan quickly took her luggage and walked to the parking area. If they didn't leave, they would be recognized. Lu Shui held Lu Chen's arm and chattered all the way. The summer vacation was coming to an end. But this time she came to Hangzhou with Fang Yun mainly to watch the concert tonight. Lu Chan specially reserved 3 VIP seats for his family. The other one was for Lu Shi. Lu Shi's flight was in the afternoon. Then the family could really reunite. For this, Fang Yun specially asked for leave from work. She would stay in Hangzhou until Sunday and then return to Binhai. Hello, Auntie. Chunfei was waiting in the parking area. She didn't dare to go to the exit with Lu Chun, because the probability of them being recognized at the same time was big. It was easy to cause chaos at that time. Similar situations had happened many times. It could be considered the trouble of being a star. Seeing Chunfei, her future daughter-in-law, Fang Yun was very happy. She took her hand and asked about her well-being, which made Chunfei blush and feel a little embarrassed. Then Lu Chun drove the family to their new home in Hangzhou. It was the first time for Fang Yun to come to the new home, so she visited it up and down with great interest. Fang Yun was very satisfied. She said to Lu Chun, "This house is very good. It will be your new house in the future." Lu Chun smiled and pretended not to understand the meaning of his mother's words. However, Fang Yun didn't give Lu Chun a chance to play tricks. She pulled Chunfei over and said earnestly, "Originally, I shouldn't interfere in the affairs of you young people. But since you two really love each other, don't delay it anymore. Even if you don't get married immediately, isn't it better to get engaged first?" Lu Chun and Chunfei looked at each other. They didn't expect Fang Yun to make it clear directly. Chunfei secretly pinched Lu Chun. Lu Chun smiled bitterly and said, "Mom, we have a plan." Fang Yun glared at him and said with disappointment, "What plan? Now tell me. Do you know that a woman's youth is the most important thing? Do you really want to wait until Fei is 30 or 40 years old to get married? Don't you want to have children? At that time, I may not have the strength to take care of your children." His mother finally showed her tail. She specially asked for leave to come to Hangzhou today, not only to see her son and daughter, but also to force them to get married. Chunfei blushed and couldn't help looking at Lu Chun. She and Lu Chun had a plan, but it obviously couldn't satisfy Fang Yun. Lu Chun made up his mind and said, "Mom, Fei and I will get engaged this year, and we will get married in 2 years. He thought about it and made up his mind. Fang Yun was a little satisfied and said, "Remember what you said. Don't go back on your words when the time comes." Lu Chun couldn't help rubbing his nose and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Mom, am I so untrustworthy?" Fang Yun rolled her eyes at him and then pulled Chunfei to talk about their family. She probably wanted to establish the relationship between her mother-in-law and daughter-in-law as soon as possible. In the afternoon, Lu Chun went to the airport to bring Lu Shi home. The family was finally reunited. After dinner, everyone rushed to Huanglong Stadium together. China's Sing All-Stars concert would officially begin at 7:45 p.m. Chapter 697. Night slowly fell, and the clear night sky was dotted with stars. The Huanglong Stadium, which could accommodate 75,000 spectators, was packed to the brim. As the video on the main screen lit up, cheers surged out like a tidal wave. Although there was still nearly an hour before The Voice's official start, the vast majority of the audience had already arrived at the venue ahead of time, especially the fans, who could not wait to raise their respective fluorescent signage and glow sticks high up in the air, using their own unique methods to express their enthusiasm. Looking around the stadium, most of the fluorescent signage with Lu Chun and Chunfei's names lit up, followed by Shifang's. Celebrities all had their own fans. If they did not have fans chasing after them, they would not be called a celebrity. There were many types of fans: ordinary fans, passers-by fans, haters, and there were also professional fans. Professional fans were no longer a secret in the entertainment industry. It was just that no one took the initiative to bring up this rather sensitive topic, because many celebrity artists would hire professional fan companies to help them hype up and build momentum. Those that often appeared in the entertainment news section or even the social news section, such as a celebrity's fan beating someone up, or being beaten up, or chasing a celebrity to the point of going crazy, or squatting outside a celebrity's door for 3 days and 3 nights, or crying and fainting on the spot in order to meet someone, etc. In fact, most of them were done by professional fans. This was what they did for a living. By the same logic, a celebrity's concert venue was a world for professional fans. Not only could they get free tickets, but they could also be paid handsomely. Their task was to bring the atmosphere and the rhythm of the ordinary fans, setting off the exuberant popularity of the celebrity. Especially in some highly publicized concert, professional fans who were hired by different celebrities to participate in the concert often came into conflict, and it was not uncommon for them to compete with each other until their heads were bleeding. But Lu Chun, Chen Fei or Shifang and Liao Jia were different. The four of them, or more accurately, the companies they signed with, did not hire so-called professional fans to support them. Those who came to the concert venue were all real fans. For example, Lu Chun, although his debut time is only 2 years, but his own spontaneously organized, and then included in the unified management of more than 30 fan support groups, which does not count the number of more small teams. Even 10 Huanglong gymnasiums wouldn't be able to accommodate all the members of the fan club. Therefore, with just Lu Chun's rallying power, it wouldn't be a problem for him to get the tickets for tonight's The Voice of China concert, let alone a group like Chen Fei, Shifang, and Liao Jia. It was said that on the internet, a normal ticket for The Voice of China had been hyped up to 600 to 700 renminbi. Under such circumstances, who would still need professional fans who were equivalent to extras? Most importantly, the passion that erupted from the true fans was something that even professional fans might not be able to match. No one knew who started shouting Lu Chun's name, but it quickly spread throughout the venue like a plague. Lu Chun. The shouts went from weak to loud, from messy to orderly, converging into a sea of sound, surging in the huge stadium, causing the people in it to involuntarily follow suit. Lu Chun! Lu Chun! Lu Chun! The fans' shouts were so enthusiastic that they even penetrated through the thick barrier and reached the backstage rest area. Lu Chun, Chen Fei, Shifang, and Liao Jia looked at each other. Liao Jia, who was experienced, immediately laughed and said, "This is a rebellion. Lu Chun, you've committed a grave sin." Lu Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "This is also considered my fault?" The fans were too enthusiastic, so they couldn't possibly push the blame onto him, right? Did they want him to do something bad to lose some fans? Chen Fei said seriously, "This is your fault. Tell me, you've already released 2 albums, but have you ever held a concert?" Lu Chun was suddenly speechless. He had debuted for 2 years and released 2 solo albums, but he really hadn't held a solo concert. Shifang was very surprised. "No way, you haven't held a concert before?" Shifang rarely came to the mainland and didn't know much about the situation there, so she really didn't know the details of Lu Chun's situation. Lu Chun said with a wry smile, "I've only participated in a few platters." Speaking of which, it was a bit embarrassing. As the most outstanding singer and songwriter in the Chinese music industry, he had not held his first solo concert so far. He was not even as good as many second-tier and third-tier stars the fans had been calling for a long time. In fact, Lu Chun also wanted to hold one, but he had been busy shooting movies and TV series, so he couldn't make time to hold a special concert. At most, it was a fan meeting. A fan meeting and a solo concert were completely different things. The current cheers were the outburst of his fans' resentment. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, everyone would have waited patiently for the concert to start and would not be so restless. At this time, the door of the VIP lounge was pushed open and Tian rushed in. "No," she shouted. "Lu Chun, hurry up and go out to calm the crowd, otherwise something may really happen." In holding such a large-scale event, the most feared thing was that something might go wrong. Once the fans' emotions got excited, it was easy to go to extremes, so the organizers often had to make all kinds of preparations in advance, including cooperating with the stars to appease the fans. Originally, at this time, the audience should still be entering the venue, and the original plan was to have a non-live song and dance performance to warm up the scene. But now that the warm-up was not needed at all, the plan must be changed to ensure that the subsequent live broadcast went smoothly. Tonight's concert of The Voice of Good Voice was broadcast live by Zhejiang Satellite TV station and simulcast live on QQ Video Network. "Then I'll go first." Lu Chun stood up decisively and said to Tian, "You let the working group get ready." Tian quickly said, "There's no problem over there. They will definitely cooperate well." Chen Fei was a little worried. He got up and asked, "Do you want me to go on stage with you?" Lu Chun said with a smile, "It's not that exaggerated. The fans are still very good. I should be fine once I go out." He added, "One man takes responsibility for his own actions." Everyone laughed at once. In fact, it was really not a big deal. Most of the fans, including the live audience, were just blindly following along. Everyone spent so much money to see the Voice of Good Voice concert tonight, and they didn't want to mess it up. Therefore, when Lu Chun appeared on the T-shaped stage, when the bright spotlight hit him, the shouts of the audience turned into cheers. Although they were still very excited, they were no longer manic. Many of the audience had a feeling of finally summoning the boss, so they laughed and clapped hard. It was as if they had just won a great victory. Chapter 698. There were a total of 3 participating in the live broadcast of tonight's first concert of The Voice. The live TV broadcast was naturally arranged by Zhidong Satellite TV. Zhui was also the organizer, and the live webcast was QQ Video plus Whale TV. Both online platforms have a long-term good relationship with Lu Chun, and it was only natural to win the right to broadcast the voice concert on the live webcast. Whether it was QQ Video or Whale TV, they have one of the biggest advantages over Zhidong Satellite TV. That is, the webcast can be done several hours in advance, unlike satellite TV, which must be limited to a specified time. QQ Video started its live broadcast at 6 o'clock in the evening, and Whale TV was earlier. There was a live picture at 5:35, and a special live broadcast room was also opened. Moreover, this live broadcast room was interlinked with Lu Chun's live broadcast room. It was divided into 2 different angles of live broadcast. Registered members can watch on 2 screens at the same time, so the sense of the scene is even stronger. Because of the advertising in advance, a large number of netizens poured into Whale TV that night, and many fans entered the live broadcast room early. They were also lucky to see Lu Chun more than half an hour in advance. Haha, I really got shouted out. I really want to go to the scene, but unfortunately I didn't buy a ticket. 5,555. It's really a sea of people. The scene is so spectacular. Let's let my Chun sing here next time. Sing here +1. Hee, if we don't sing now, the opinions of the masses will really be big. It seems that it's already very big now. The barrage in the live broadcast room was like a tide, and most of them were complaining. It could be seen that Lu Chun's fans really had complaints. Especially those of his fans, they didn't know how long they had been looking forward to it, but they were always disappointed. Their emotions broke out at night. Fortunately, Lu Chun came out in time to calm the scene. Good evening everyone, I'm here. As soon as his voice fell, there were all kinds of cheers, screams, whistles, and applause. Lu Chun waited for the fans to vent their emotions with a smile on his face, and then continued. Now there are still 43 minutes before the start of the voice concert. So let me make the scene. Sing a few songs for everyone first, what do you think? Okay, this time, all the voices were united, and they all cheered in unison. Lu Chun waved towards the audience and immediately, a staff member brought over a microphone, a stool and a guitar. Sitting on a stool, Lu Chun held his guitar and said to the microphone, I haven't sung like this for a long time. Actually, I'm very happy today because apart from you guys, my mother and sister are also here. The gymnasium immediately became very quiet, with only Lu Chun's voice echoing. No one would be so insensible as to create interference at this time. Many people looked left and right, trying to find Lu Chun's mother and sister in the crowd. Of course, it was all in vain. Lu Chun continued. So tonight's first song, I want to give it to my mother first, to thank her for giving me a precious life, raising me, and giving me everything I have now. At this moment, Fang Yun and Lu Shui were sitting in the VIP seats in the front row, listening to Lu Chun's confession of affection on stage. Fang Yun's eyes couldn't help but turn red. And the first song that Lu Chun sang was, of course, the song that fans were already familiar with, When You Are Old. When you are old, your hair is white and you are drowsy. When you are old and you can't walk anymore, and you take a nap by the fire, and you remember your youth. How many loved you in your youth, how many admired your beauty, whether they were sincere or fake, but only one person still loves your pious soul. This song was very special among all of Lu Chun's works. It could be sung to lovers and friends, as well as relatives and elders. Different people could sing it with different flavors. Therefore, since its birth, it has been covered by many professional and non-professional singers. And among all of Lu Chun's works, When You Are Old has always been at the top of the evaluation. Maybe it was not as popular as You Who Sat Next to Me, and The Brightest Star in the Night Sky among young people, but it allowed Lu Chun to gain a group of fans with life experience. For Lu Chun's fans, they were also familiar with it. Lu Chun only sang 2 paragraphs, and the fans at the scene began to sing. At first, there were only a few people singing, But soon it became a collective chorus. Especially when he sang "Only One Person Still Loves Your Devout Soul, Loves the Wrinkles on Your Old Face." The atmosphere of the audience reached a climax, and the scene was really very moving. This is Lu Chan's fans, singing together to Lu Chan's mother. They are thanking Lu Chan's mother for giving the world a precious gift. The name of this gift was Lu Chan. When I am old, I really hope that this song is sung for you. Lu Chan's voice was deep with warmth, and the simple guitar accompaniment restored the most authentic taste of the music. It drifted away and gradually returned to plain, leaving a lingering sound. 3 memories from the dream world brought Lu Chan the depth of the accumulation of years, so that his interpretation of "When You Are Old" reached a near-perfect height, with a charm that no one could imitate. It deeply infected and moved all the audience present. Until Lu Chan finished singing. The applause of the audience was thunderous, pushing the atmosphere to a new climax. Lu Chan stood up with his guitar, and then bowed to express his gratitude to everyone. How lucky he was to have so many lovely fans. In the live broadcast room of Whale TV, more and more fans poured into the platform. Many people came in through QQ groups or Tieba blogs, making the number of online people in the live broadcast room show an explosive growth. And when Lu Chan sang "When You Are Old," many fans typed the lyrics in the bullet screen. They also sang along. A song "When You Are Old" completed the adjustment of the mood of the audience, and a possible storm was eliminated without a trace. But Lu Chan did not leave. He sat down again and delivered his second song. He chose to continue singing his folk works, one song after another. The time before the official start of the voice concert became Lu Chan's exclusive performance time. Although it was not a real solo performance, it still gave the audience and fans great satisfaction. Time passed quietly until 7:30. When Lu Chan finished singing his 5th song, he officially said goodbye to the audience and left the stage to the 2 concert hosts. Tonight, Lu Chan was destined to be the protagonist. Chapter 699. Bang! 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 In the clear night sky, a group of gorgeous fireworks exploded, and the sky was filled with a meteor shower, lighting up the sky above Huanglong Stadium and igniting the enthusiasm of the 75,000 spectators in the stadium. Amidst the rising and falling cheers, shouts, and applause, the 2017 Good Voice concert officially began. The 2 large curtains slowly opened, and the logo of the Good Voice appeared on the LED giant screen behind the stage. A man and a woman appeared on the stage under the spotlight. Tonight, the hosts of the Good Voice concert were Kai Jie and Tian Tian. Today's Kai Jie is no longer a small music show anchor at Hangzhou Traffic Radio Station. Relying on the phenomenal variety reality show China's Voice, he has become a well-known host in China, and has now officially joined Zhidong Satellite TV station. He wore a black suit tonight, and his whole person looked refreshed, and the smile on his face was particularly bright. And his partner Tian Tian was even more dazzling. A long red dress set off her almost perfect figure, and every frown and smile was intoxicating. Tian Tian has long since left Zhidong Satellite TV station, but for tonight's Good Voice concert, the satellite TV station still invited her to come over to co-host with Kai Jie, because no matter her image, temperament, or identity, she was very suitable. Kai Jie said in a clear voice, "Dear leaders, dear guests, Tuntun, dear audience everyone, good evening. Today we are gathered here to enjoy the joy that the Good Voice brings us. Open your heart, release your passion, let this place become a sea of joy, let happiness resound through the sky. Let us gather together, let us sing and dance, let the most beautiful voice." 7 high-definition digital cameras arranged in the stadium transmitted the live picture to the broadcast vehicle in real time, and then transmitted it to the headquarters building of Zhidong Satellite TV station, and then presented it to the national TV audience. Although the 2 major online platforms, QQ Video and Whale TV, have taken away a large part of the audience, there are still countless people willing to stay in front of the TV. The real-time ratings fed back to the satellite TV station reached an astonishing 4.89% at 7:30. Although this figure was far from being comparable to Central TV's Spring Festival Gala and was not even a fraction of the latter, it was still enough to make the industry peers' eyes bleed with envy, just how much advertising fees could be earned. In fact, the naming rights of tonight's Good Voice concert have long been taken away by Zhonghua Motors, and the advertising time for the insertion was booked out 2 months ago. The first performance was a grand song and dance program. After the song and dance, the first singer to appear was Liao Jia. He led his Black Memory Band and appeared with a song that countless rock fans were familiar with, Antarctica, which instantly ignited the audience's excitement. This song, Antarctica, could be said to be the masterpiece of Liao Jia and Black Memory. It was regarded as one of the last classics before the country fell. Although it had been 20 years since this song was written, when Liao Jia reinterpreted this classic with his unique voice, many rock fans who came to the scene still couldn't help but cry. Among the 75,000 spectators at the scene, those who came for Liao Jia were definitely a minority. The number of fluorescent signs with his name was far less than that of Lu Chan and Chan Fei. His fans were older and did not like to support their idols in this way, but no one dared to underestimate the power of these rock and roll fans. At the moment when Liao Jia sang to the climax, they all stood up and took off their coats, revealing the black t-shirts with Liao Jia's name on them. They let out almost crazy roars and shouts, which really shocked the other audience. I want to go to the South Pole, and take you with me to the South Pole, because the true meaning of life is hidden there. These fans were using their own roars to tell everyone that the country would never die. It was just gradually withering. And this scene was faithfully recorded by the live cameras, becoming one of the most classic passages in tonight's Good Voice concert. It made many fans realize that the country was still in people's hearts. If Lu Chen's groundwork set off the prelude to the Good Voice concert, then Liao Jia used this song South Pole, not only to prove that he was not old, but also to bring a second wave of atmosphere. When he sang to the end, his voice was hoarse, not because he was unable to do what he wanted, but because his mood was surging. Finally, led by Liao Jia's fans, the whole audience stood up together and sent him off the stage with neat applause. Tonight's concert was destined to not be ordinary. Then, the top 10 students of the Good Voice came on stage one after another. In the middle, Chanfer and Shifeng also came on stage to sing their own classic works, which made the atmosphere of the scene surge like a tide, wave after wave. After the top 10 students of the Good Voice left the stage, Lu Chan came on stage again. This time he was no longer alone. There was also the Nirvana band, who had just arrived in Hangzhou in the morning. Today's Nirvana band is no longer the shadow band behind Lu Chan. They have already officially signed with Chun Fei Media and become a real independent band, and will release their first album at the end of the year. Lu Chen's Tailor-Made for Our Love, for the Nirvana band made Nirvana among the first-class bands in China. So when the lead singer Wang Jing led the band members on the stage, many fans shouted the name of Nirvana. Lu Chan and Wang Jing walked to the front of the stage together and stood in front of the microphone. Wang Jing was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. She had short hair and looked very cool holding an electric guitar. When she stood side by side with Lu Chan, the frequency of mobile phone flashes in the audience reached its peak. With a long breath, Lu Chan said to the microphone, "The next song will be sung by me and the Nirvana band. I believe many people should have heard of this song. Its name is 10,000 times sad." As soon as his voice fell, Wang Jing's fingers swept the strings of the guitar and played the prelude of the song. "Oh honey, my mind is full of you. Oh irresistible palpitations, it's hard to breathe. Tonight are you going to miss another night? Are you going to hide your last expectations?" This song 10,000 times sad first appeared at the Tianfu Music Festival, and it is also one of Lu Chen's latest pop music works. It is deeply loved by countless fans of Lu Chen with its strong and exciting melody. And this time, Lu Chen and the Nirvana band worked together again to sing this song 10,000 times sad, which immediately reignited the atmosphere of the scene that had just calmed down. 10,000 times sad. There will still be dreams. I have been waiting for you in the warmest place. The exciting scene of the whole audience singing and singing appeared again. Chapter 700. After 10,000 times of sorrow, it was Our Love by Nirvana's lead singer. After a short period of dormancy in the early stage, Chun Fei Media, jointly established by Lu Chan and Chanfer, has begun to gradually exert its strength and develop in many ways. In addition to setting foot in the film and television industry, it has also pushed its contracted artists to the market. Nirvana and Jejentana appeared at the Voices concert this evening precisely because of this. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that Lu Chan has put a lot of effort into recommending the Nirvana band. There is the Tianfu Music Festival ahead. This time he once again led the Nirvana band on the stage, and also put the latter in the same position as himself. This song For Our Love was sung by Wang Jing, and Lu Chan, as an accompaniment guitarist, was willing to play the supporting role. Memories of a vague childhood. Clouds floating in the blue sky. At that time you said that you wanted to hold hands with me. After Our Love was sung by Nirvana at the Tianfu Music Festival. It quickly became popular in the Chinese music world. This song is not only Nirvana's debut work, but also its representative. Of course, fans are very familiar with it. Although this song is not suitable for singing, Wang Jing's passionate interpretation of the work did not dissipate the fanatical atmosphere brought by Lu Chan, but became more intense and hot. When she finished singing, the audience burst into thunderous applause, and many people clapped their hands red. Thank you. Wang Jing was very excited. The scale of the Tianfu Music Festival that she had participated in was considered very large, but it was nothing compared to the current situation. The Huanglong Stadium could accommodate a total of 75,000 spectators. In the circle, singers of the same level are not as famous as movie stars, but as a singer, the greatest joy is to stand on the brightly lit stage and enjoy the cheers and applause of thousands of audiences. It was as if he had the whole world in his hands, and it was truly intoxicating. It's just that glory is always short-lived. After completing 2 works in a row, Nirvana retired. But Lu Chan stayed. He didn't continue to sing. He had sung enough tonight, but acted as a temporary host. The next song, Lu Chan smiled and said to the microphone, I think it should be the most special song tonight. Hearing his words, whether it was the live audience or the fans in front of the TV or the computer, all of them had a strong curiosity. What kind of song would it be that would make Lu Chan say it was the most special? Lu Chan continued, there are a total of 3 singers for this song. First, let's welcome the first singer. He is our instructor Liao Jia. As soon as Lu Chan finished speaking, a spotlight shone on the entrance of the stage, and Liao Jia's figure was immediately revealed. The rock band leader had changed his unruly coat into a set of clothes with strong characteristics of the prairie people. He looked like a straightforward man holding a horsewhip and riding a horse on the prairie. Wasn't the style a little too much? Some of the audience laughed, some exclaimed, some were surprised, and some were applauding. Liao Jia held the microphone in a serious manner, held his head high, and walked to the center of the stage calmly. Lu Chan smiled and said, the second singer, can you guess who she is? He turned around and made an inviting gesture, and the second spotlight was fixed on Liao Jia's original position. It was just that it was a different person. The other person's back was facing the live audience, and she was wearing the same style of Mongolian clothes as Liao Jia, but it was a woman's. Many people below the stage were shouting the name loudly. In any case, it was a random guess. Lu Chan didn't leave everyone hanging for too long, and immediately revealed the mystery. She is Instructor Shifang. When Lu Chan shouted Shifang's name, Shifang turned around at the same time and smiled at the audience. It turned out to be Shifang. Many of the audience didn't expect it at all. Liao Jia and Shifang sang the same song, which was very exciting to think about. Who was the third singer? It couldn't be Chen Fei, could it? Chen Fei's fans immediately began to shout her name. The 3 big stars singing together was definitely a classic. Lu Chan smiled and said, you don't have to guess blindly. The next one isn't Chen Fei. This is also our most special guest tonight. Her name is Jejin Tana. Welcome Jejin Tana, our pearl of the grasslands. It turned out to be Jejin Tana. It was hard to say about other people, but as long as they were fans of Lu Chan and Chen Fei, they would never be unfamiliar with this 14-year-old Mongolian girl. The video shot by Chen Fei at the beginning was a sensation on the internet. The song Beautiful Grasslands My Home was also widely circulated. Later, everyone knew that Jejin Tana had signed with Chen Fei Media, but there was no news recently. Today was her reappearance after a long time. That was very interesting. This song was actually sung by Liao Jia, Shifang, and Jejin Tana. People couldn't help but look forward to it. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of spectators, the well-dressed Jejin Tana officially appeared on stage. Although she had just turned 14 this year and had never seen such a big scene before, She did not have the slightest stage fright in front of 75,000 spectators. She gracefully greeted everyone in Mongolian. Liao Jia and Shifang looked at each other and smiled. Lu Chan took the opportunity to say, "The name of this song is called Three Auspicious Treasures." After he announced the name of the song, he immediately left the stage to Liao Jia, Shifang, and Jejentana. Such a combination was absolutely unique in the Chinese music industry. The prelude of the song sounded. Jejentana tilted her head, raised the microphone and sang to Liao Jia, "Daddy." Liao Jia. "Huh?" Jejentana. "Has the sun come out and the moon gone home?" Liao Jia. "That's right." Jejentana. "Where did the sun go when the stars came out?" Liao Jia. "In the sky." Jejentana. "I can't find it no matter how hard I try." Liao Jia. "He went home." The three of them sang, "The sun, moon, and stars are an auspicious family." Jejentana looked at Shifang. "Mommy?" Shifang. "I." Jejentana. "When will Yeezy's green bloom?" Shifang smiled. "When summer comes." For the audience, the first feeling that this song gave them was that it was fresh. First of all, the melody of the work had a strong characteristic of the steppe people, and the same was true for the accompaniment. Secondly, the three of them sang in a duet style, which was even more refreshing. In particular, Jejentana's clear and tender childish voice exuded the smell of fresh milk from the steppe, which made people feel very comfortable listening to it. Liao Jia's singing was deep and affectionate, and Shifang's singing was bright and warm, which formed a sharp contrast with Jejentana's childish voice, but also very harmonious. This was a unique work with its own vitality. Note: Three Auspicious Treasures lyrics. Björnbayer Wangbao Chinese version. /composer. Björnbayer. Chapter 701. Whether it was the 75,000 spectators in the Huanglong Stadium, or the fans watching the live broadcast in front of their TVs and computers, tonight's concert was definitely one of the most wonderful concerts they had ever seen. Since the beginning of the concert, there have been continuous wonderful climaxes. Lu Chan, Chun Fei, Liao Jia, and Shifang led the 9 top 10 students of The Voice and presented a real audition feast for all the audience. And the special guests of the concert did not disappoint. The performance of the Nirvana band was very good, and Liao Jia's friend in the circle, Gao Geng, who was invited to come, also made the whole audience excited with his rock and roll work, bringing wave after wave of climaxes. But whether it was the Nirvana band, Gao Geng, or the famous Taiwanese singer Lu Qingfang who appeared later, they could not cover the light of a 14-year-old Mongolian girl on the stage. She was Jejentana, a song with strong ethnic characteristics, a moving melody, and a special form of lucky three treasures. The foil of the 2 top singers made Jejentana the focus of the audience. So much so that the day after the concert, there were a lot of reports about Jejentana on the entertainment pages and even the main page of the major domestic media. Her sweet and lovely image was circulated in blogs, postbars, and forums. With the help of the concert, Lucky Three Treasures became famous overnight. A music critic wrote on his blog, "Last night, I sat in the Huanglong Stadium and watched the entire performance live. The one that left the deepest impression on me was undoubtedly Jejentana's Lucky Three Treasures." This is a very situational question and answer family song. Listening to this song, it makes people feel as if they are witnessing a family of 3 herding and walking on the grassland. Big eyes of the lovely little daughter are suddenly blinking, enjoying all the novelty presented in front of her, and there are always endless questions. She turns her head to the left to ask her mother, and to the right to ask her father. In the face of the child's childish questions, her parents give her patient and warm answers. And when such a dreamy scene appears in your head, the warm and romantic feeling is like the rising tide of the ocean, beating your heart bit by bit, making you indulge in it and forgetting to leave. Pop Music magazine published a short review on its online edition. The article wrote, "The Auspicious Three Treasures is undoubtedly the cutest song the author has heard in recent years. It is not a love song about breaking up, it is not a song that is often heard on the charts, and it is not even a regular work. But it is a lively and popular song. It is a song so cute that people will be amazed by it. It has the charm that transcends language, culture, and age. It makes everyone who is eager to be touched feel the joy they have been dreaming of. This song has a life of its own, a life independent of the listener. Other than music critics in the media and magazines, ordinary television viewers, including Lu Chan and Chan Feier fans, were full of praise for the auspicious Three Treasures, believing that this song was the most touching work of the Voices concert. As a result, the number of fans on Jejintana's personal verified blog increased exponentially, from the original hundreds of thousands to millions. Countless invitations were sent to her like snowflakes, and all kinds of performances, endorsements, and advertisements were simply too much for one's eyes to take in. But as Jejintana's contracted agency, Chunfei Media did not take advantage of this surge in popularity to desperately make money. Instead, they picked out a few brands with enough influence to cooperate with, and politely rejected most of the invitations such as program interviews, gala performances, and so on. If it were any other media agency, they would definitely want as many invitations as possible. It would be best if Jejintana's schedule was full 24 hours a day. The more her workload, the more benefits the signing agency would get. But whether it was Lu Chan or Chan Feier, they really did not lack this bit of money. The two of them had never thought of using Jejintana as a cash cow. They would rather let her study quietly in school than let her enter the big vat of the entertainment industry too early. It should be said that Jejintana was extremely lucky. She was a pearl buried in the grassland. She met a treasure hunter who really knew how to appreciate and cherish pearls, so that she would not fall into the mud and dust. Of course, this was all in the future. The concert on August 30th officially ended at 11 o'clock in the evening. The next day, August 31st, Zhidong Satellite TV Station and Star Factory Media were the hosts. They invited the four mentors of The Voice of China to hold a farewell banquet at the Shangri-La Hotel in Hangzhou. The first season of The Voice of China was completely over. Although the second season of The Voice of China next year had already been put on the production schedule, among the four mentors, except for Lu Chan and Chan Feier, Liao Jia and Shifang were not sure whether they could continue to participate for the time being. Zhidong Satellite TV Station and Star Factory Media, of course, hoped that the mentor lineup of the first season could be retained, because the current combination of the four could be said to be perfect and had received the greatest recognition from the national television audience. The mentors' remuneration offered by the two companies for the second season of The Voice of China was quadrupled on the basis of the first season. If it were any other celebrity, they would definitely want to sign a contract for 10 years in a row after receiving such a great opportunity to gain fame and fortune. However, Liao Jia and Shifang were different. Both of them once had an incomparably glorious era. Although they had not retired from the entertainment industry, they did not value fame and fortune too much. For example, Liao Jia, according to his words, he had earned enough in this life. The rest of his life was to eat, drink, and have fun. He did not want his work to become his shackles, and he liked to run around all over the world. Shifang's health had never been very good. She chose to make a comeback and made a small contribution. It was entirely because of her love for her personal music career that she continued to sing. She was not short of money at all. Therefore, money could not move the two of them. Of course, because Lu Chan and Chan Feier were there, Zhidong Satellite TV Station and Star Factory Media still had the favor card to play, so they were not particularly anxious. Anyway, both sides still had plenty of time. This farewell dinner was enjoyed by both the guests and the host. All good things must come to an end. After the banquet, Liao Jia and his friend Gao Geng left first, while Lu Chan and Chan Feier sent Shifang to Hangzhou International Airport. Shifang was on the afternoon flight back to Hong Kong. After seeing off Shifang, Lu Chan sent his mother back to Binhai. He also gave Lu Shui a key to his home in Hangzhou. Then he returned to Beijing with Chan Feier to continue the intense filming of You from the Star. Chapter 702. With fresh and unique creativity, wonderful and fascinating story, excellent and attentive production, and the full efforts of the two popular idol stars, Lu Chan and Chan Feier, You from the Star has soared in the ratings since its premiere on August 18th in Beijing and Zhidong Satellite TV Station, sweeping the domestic TV market. By the time Lu Chan and Chan Feier returned to Beijing from Hangzhou, You from the Star had already aired 5 episodes, with an average rating of 5.78%, and the highest rating in South Korea had broken through 35% and rushed straight to the 40% mark. Because You from the Star was a weekly drama that was filmed and broadcast at the same time, and 2 episodes were broadcast consecutively a week, so the shooting work was more demanding. The two protagonists were delayed for a few days to participate in the Good Voice concert in Hangzhou, and it was necessary to make up for the progress later. Therefore, as soon as Lu Chan and Chen Fei returned to Beijing, they didn't have time to rest or anything, and immediately threw themselves into the busy shooting, basically treating Huairong Film and Television City as their second home. It wasn't until around August 10th that the two finally made up for the scenes they needed to shoot, and could rest for 2 days to catch their breath. Otherwise, even if they were made of iron, they wouldn't be able to withstand such a long period of high-load work. I'm so tired. Back at home in Ziqingyuan, Chunfer threw herself heavily on the sofa and complained, I won't work so hard in the future. I don't know why I'm working so hard. Chen Feier's complaint was actually very reasonable, because as far as she was concerned, she had really earned enough money. Her annual advertising and endorsement income alone was tens of millions, plus her salary it was more than 100 million. Moreover, most of the money she earned was invested in real estate and shops. In recent years, domestic housing prices had soared. Even if she didn't sell the real estate in her hands, the rental income alone was enough to maintain a carefree life. Lu Chen smiled and said nothing. He sat on the sofa and held her in his arms, gently kneading her shoulders. Chen Fei narrowed her eyes comfortably and whispered, When I finish this TV series, I'll quit the entertainment industry. Okay? I'll cook and mop the floor for you at home and let you support me? Lu Chen said with a smile. Okay. What's so good about it? Chen Fei immediately pouted. I'm an old woman at home, so you can hook up with girls outside, right? Don't think I don't know. This was completely unreasonable. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he knew that Chen Fei was just throwing a tantrum occasionally. These unreasonable words were just said casually and shouldn't be taken seriously. Ever since the two of them fell in love with each other, Chen Fei had taken off her heavenly empress appearance in front of him. From time to time, she would reveal her true self as a little woman who needed to be doted on. In fact, this was also the fun between lovers. Lu Chen was already used to dealing with this. He lowered his head and kissed Chen Feier's mouth, pressing her under his body. The atmosphere in the living room suddenly became charming. The blood-boiling sounds rose and fell. After a long time, the sky gradually darkened, and the passion in the bedroom gradually subsided. On the comfortable big bed, Chen Fei had already fallen asleep, and her pretty face still had an intoxicating blush. Lu Chen lowered his head and kissed her cheek. Then, he carefully covered her with the air-conditioning quilt and got up to leave the bedroom. Although they had sex for a long time, Lu Chen didn't feel the slightest bit tired at this moment. The strong body that he had built up over a long period of time allowed him to do some things with ease. Therefore, he was now full of energy. Lu Chen first went to the bathroom and took a shower. Then he put on a t-shirt and went to the study. After sitting down, he reached out to turn on the computer and quickly found the file he needed from the hard drive. It was a writing document, and the title of the document was The Legend of the Condor Heroes. The editing software showed that the number of words in the document had reached 500,000. This was the second Wuxia work that Lu Chen had dug out from the dream world after The Smiling Proud Wanderer. He had started rewriting it a few months ago, and now it was almost half done. Although he had a complete memory of the dream world, it wasn't easy to type out the words that were branded in his head. Especially since Lu Chen was usually very busy with work, he didn't have much time to spend on this work. However, The Legend of the Condor Heroes was very important. If The Smiling Proud Wanderer was a work to test the waters, then The Legend of the Condor Heroes was the real foundation of his great Wuxia IP plan. Therefore, it was extremely important. And after being silent for so long, it was time for memory now to show up again. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen didn't rush to start writing. Instead, he opened the browser and logged into the Waves blog. He clicked on the account switch function and entered an account and password that he rarely used. This ID was Memory Now V, who was currently regarded as an idol by many domestic Wuxia novel fans. Although it was a personal verified V account, the registration was done by Chen Fei Media. Only Lu Xi and Lu Chen knew the account password. Even the company's internal public relations department didn't keep it. Even within Chen Fei Media, only a few people knew that Memory Now was Lu Chen himself. As for the outside world, Memory Now was even more mysterious. He rose to fame in 2016 with the Wuxia novel, The Smiling Proud Wanderer, and quickly gained a large number of fans. So far, the total sales of The Smiling Proud Wanderer had exceeded 1 million copies. Although it couldn't be compared with the top physical books, as a niche category of books, its success was undeniable. However, the author Memory Now never showed up. He didn't accept interviews from reporters, nor did he hold book signings, so the fans who liked his works couldn't see him in person. As a result, there were rumors on the internet that Memory Now was too ugly. In order to avoid losing fans due to exposure, he deliberately made himself so mysterious. This completely irresponsible statement was actually quite popular. In addition, some people said that Memory Now was actually a woman. The reason was that her description of the protagonist Ling Hu Chong was set according to the requirements of a boyfriend. Therefore, she didn't dare to show up for fear of being exposed. All these made Lu Chun not know whether to laugh or cry. However, since he chose to keep it a secret, he didn't intend to make it public now. He wanted to keep the mystery. As for what others wanted to say, let them say it. Controversy was not a bad thing. The scariest thing was that no one cared about it. On the other hand, the blog Memories of Present and Ancient was really deserted. The reason was very simple. This blog rarely made any noise. From the time it was registered, it had only posted 5 blog posts. It would be strange if it wasn't deserted. Today, Lu Chun used the 6th blog post to announce the return of Memory Now. It was back. Chapter 703. At night, Zhangcheng City's Xiqing district. Bus number 589 steadily stopped next to the platform. Accompanied by the sound of the pneumatic door, several passengers nimbly jumped down from the rear door that had just opened, and more people squeezed into the already crowded carriage from the front door. Similar scenes happened here every day. Wang Pu carried his backpack and passed through the crowd, still waiting for the next bus on the platform. Under the guidance of the dim yellow streetlights, he quickly walked towards the side street not far away. A busy day of work, coupled with the toss and turn on the subway to the bus route, had already made him very tired, but the joy and relaxation of returning home also made his steps exceptionally light. Walking through the side street and into an alley, Wang Pu returned to his rented apartment. He had just moved here half a month ago. This place used to be completely a suburb, but with the continuous expansion of the urban cluster, the original villages and towns were swallowed up one by one, but some villages should have been temporarily preserved for various reasons, thus forming the so-called urban village. Everyone knew that urban villages would die out sooner or later, whether it was for the needs of the city's appearance or real estate development. They had no reason to continue to exist. The villagers were actually very willing to be demolished, provided that there was enough compensation. Getting rich from demolition was never a fairy tale, and in order to obtain more compensation, they built privately in the village. The additional illegal buildings could not be left empty, so the villagers rented out the houses after simple renovation, using the low rent to accept a large number of people who worked hard in the city. Wang Pu was one of them. The reason why he moved here was because the price of his original rented place had risen. Although this place was a little remote, and it would take an extra half an hour on the way back and forth to work, the advantage was that it was cheap enough. Although it was an illegal room, it had water, electricity, broadband, and a separate bathroom. Wang Pu thought about it. Before the urban village was demolished, he would always live here. Taking out the key to open the door, Wang Pu turned on the lights on the wall. The soft and bright light instantly dispelled the darkness, illuminating the messy room. A bed, a wardrobe, a computer desk, and a computer chair. The furniture in the room was very simple, and because Wang Pu was still single, it inevitably looked a little messy. He threw his bag on the bed, took off his clothes, and rushed into the bathroom to wash off the stinky sweat from squeezing in the car. After showering, Wang Pu's stomach was rumbling with hunger. There was no kitchen in this rented house. If he wanted to cook, he had to go to the public kitchen downstairs. Wang Pu was too lazy to go there. He directly took the electric kettle and boiled some water. Then he took out a bucket of instant noodles and 2 sausages from the closet. The dinner of the city ant tribe was just that simple. While waiting for the instant noodles to be ready, Wang Pu sat on the chair and turned on the computer. In the past, when he was living in his old rented apartment, he usually went to the internet cafe to surf the net at night. Now that he had moved to a new house, although there was an internet cafe nearby, it was not as convenient as before. So he simply asked the landlord to pull an internet cable and directly surf the net at home, which saved a lot of money. Wang Pu skillfully opened a few book websites. First, he browsed through his account bookshelf to see if there were any updates. Different from many of his peers and similar to many of his peers, Wang Pu's biggest hobby is not to play games or chat on QQ, but to read online novels. In Countless Lonely Nights, it was a wonderful online novel that accompanied him, so that he would not lose himself in the confusion of life and the heavy depression of boring and busy work, and so that he could obtain his own happiness. The most important thing is that this kind of happiness does not need to be obtained by paying a high price. Wang Pu has always subscribed to online novels. In addition to directly topping up, he has received free coins through various activities on the website. A month's consumption of reading books is completely affordable. According to his habit, Wang Pu first signed in at several book websites and completed the daily tasks so that he would have a lot of reading coins, and then he would subscribe to the updates of several books. The money he spent was very limited. It was a pity that the few books that he liked had very few updates today. Wang Pu finished reading the latest chapter in 2 or 3 minutes. He was quite depressed and posted a comment in the comment section of one of the books to urge him to update. Hurry up and update. After clicking OK to publish, Wang Pu angrily closed the current web page. At this time, the instant noodles were almost soaked. He tore off the opening paper and wolfed down the ham sausage, but his eyes were still staring at the screen. One hand was still holding the mouse, and he randomly clicked on the browser's favorite website link. The page of Wave's blog appeared in front of Wang Pu. Wang Pu had registered his own blog account a long time ago, but he usually did not use it much. He only looked at all kinds of gossip on it, and followed a few famous web authors and popular stars in the entertainment industry. Since he had nothing to do since he had opened the blog, Wang Pu simply continued to click on the message prompts in his account to see what the people he followed had done. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. What the f***ck? Wang Pu cursed with a mouthful of instant noodles in his mouth, and the chewed noodles sprayed out from his mouth. What the f***ck? He quickly swallowed the noodles, and hurriedly pulled out a tissue to wipe the noodles sprayed on the monitor. At this moment on Wang Pu's computer screen, there was a blog post that had just been published, and the blogger was the author of The Smiling Proud Wanderer, Ancient Memory. You can't blame Wang Pu for being so shocked. First of all, he was a hardcore fan of Ancient Memory, and one of the earliest readers. Not only did he buy the original physical book of The Smiling Proud Wanderer, but he also read the book at least 3 times. In Wang Pu's hands, there were 5,000 fan and reader groups of The Smiling Proud Wanderer. He usually didn't use QQ much. If he used QQ, he basically ran to the group to talk about the plot of the book with his friends. Of course, there was also the author. It's just that Ancient Memory was too mysterious. So far, he had never appeared in public, and he didn't even know whether he was a man or a woman. There was very little information on the blog. At most, there were 2 or 3 new blog posts a month, and there was not much useful content. But the new blog post that just appeared on the blog of Ancient Memory was different. Ancient Memory was about to release a new book. At this moment, Wang Pu had the urge to burst into tears. He wanted to sing loudly. I've waited for a long time and finally today. I've dreamed for a long time and finally realized my dream. This song was a new song by the king of Xiangjiang, Lu Gangsheng. It was written and composed by Lu Chan, and it was very popular in the mainland recently. Wang Pu felt that these lyrics really matched his mood at the moment. Chapter 704. Although he had read countless online novels, many of which were popular classics, Wang Pu's love for The Smiling the Proud Wanderer was unmatched by any other book. The Smiling the Proud Wanderer didn't have any destructive magic, no pretentious and face-slapping routines, and no consequences of having a lot of beautiful women. But it had characters with distinct personalities, a wonderful plot, and words that made him infatuated. The only thing that made Wang Pu feel regretful was that as the author of The Smiling the Proud Wanderer, Memory of Present and Ancient, only wrote this one martial arts novel. There were no other works, not even short essays. He had read The Smiling the Proud Wanderer 3 times, but he had to put it aside temporarily. He couldn't read the same book every day. Of course, Wang Pu really hoped that Memory of Present and Ancient could publish a new book. It didn't need to be more wonderful than The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. As long as it maintained a similar standard, he would be satisfied. But it seemed to be very difficult to realize this wish. Memory of Present and Ancient was too mysterious and low-key. Wang Pu had left many messages in Memory of Present and Ancient's blog to inquire about it, but the message was like a stone sinking into the sea, without any response. Usually, when chatting with other like-minded readers in the group, some people said that Memory of Present and Ancient only wrote this book so he was too embarrassed to come out and meet people. It was enough to make a fortune in silence. For this fallacy, Wang Pu snorted, but there was no way to refute it. Now he finally heard the news of Memory of Present and Ancient's new book. What bullsh** tea was that? Wang Pu had always believed that with Memory of Present and Ancient's talent in martial arts novels, his achievements would not be limited to The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Without finishing the rest of the instant noodles, Wang Pu quickly forwarded the good news to all his QQ groups, telling everyone that Memory of Present and Ancient was going to publish a new book. The readers were immediately excited. Are you serious? Big Modern and Ancient has a new book? Great news! This is the best news I've seen today. I wonder what the new book is about. It must be martial arts. If Big Modern and Ancient doesn't write martial arts, then what else is there to read? I'm going to register a blog account right now to follow it. When will it be published? The Smiling Proud Wanderer had sold millions of original copies, so it had a huge readership. Therefore, Memories of Present and Past had a lot of fans on the verified V account of Waves. As soon as his blog post came out, it immediately attracted a lot of attention. Fans liked and commented, and like Wang Pu, forwarded the good news to Tieba forums and QQ groups. More people tagged Memories of Present and Ancient on the blog to inquire about the new book, including several internet celebrities. They were also fans of The Smiling Proud Wanderer. Tonight was destined to be a lucky moment for the fans of The Smiling Proud Wanderer, because after the announcement of the new book, the blog of Memory of Present and Past was updated only half an hour later. The content was related to The Smiling Proud Wanderer, which meant that the movie of The Smiling Proud Wanderer would officially start shooting before the end of the year, and there would probably be additions for the actors. The two major pieces of news shocked the fans again and again. For the readers of The Smiling Proud Wanderer, this was undoubtedly another big news, because they had long been looking forward to the day when The Smiling Proud Wanderer would appear on the big screen. Now was the era of IP. It was simply inconceivable that a popular novel was not adapted. The key was whether it could be adapted well or not. Many excellent IP had been adapted into bad ones, but fans are positive and affirmative about the film adaptation of The Smiling, Proud and Pugilistic World, because the adaptation copyright of The Smiling, Proud and Pugilistic World is owned by Chunfei Media, which has two big names, Lu Chun and Chunfei. As long as The Smiling, Proud Wanderer could achieve the same effect as a Chinese ghost story, it would be very worth looking forward to. The only thing they prayed for now was that it would not be cancelled. Why are you still playing on the computer? The door of the study was pushed open and Chun Fei, who was wearing thin pajamas, rubbed her eyes and walked in. Seeing that Lu Chun was still surfing the internet excitedly, she couldn't help but say, "Do you want to rest?" She walked over and asked, "What are you reading so happily?" Lu Chun held Chun Fei in his arms and let her sit on his lap. "Reading my blog." "Huh." Chun Fei took a closer look and said in surprise, "This isn't your blog." Lu Chun said with a smile, "Why isn't it my own?" Chun Fei took a closer look and was speechless. Reminiscence? Why did you use this account? Of course she knew that Reminiscence was an alias that Lu Chun used to write books. His book, The Smiling Proud Wanderer, was very popular, and it was once in the top 3 of the physical book sales chart. And the derivative rights of The Smiling Proud Wanderer were all with Chunfei Media. In terms of subject matter, The Smiling Proud Wanderer was very suitable to be adapted into movies, TV shows and games. The game aspect would definitely be done by Happy Entertainment, and the movie adaptation was also officially on Chunfei Media's schedule. According to Lu Chen's plan, the adaptation of The Smiling Proud Wanderer would be the focus of the company next year. But when Chun Fei saw the content of Lu Chen's blog, she was still very surprised. You're going to release a new book? Wuxia nodded. Yes, the smiling proud wanderer has been out for quite some time. It's about time to release a new book. Wuxia would create a series of Wuxia IP around the ID memories of present and past. Strictly speaking, the smiling proud wanderer was just a test of the waters. The Legend of the Condor Heroes, which he had completed nearly half of, was the real focus of his work. But the smiling proud wanderer was selling like hotcakes, and Wuxia wouldn't waste its value. It had been brewing for a long time, and it was time to harvest it. Releasing the Legend of the Condor Heroes would ensure the continuation of his plan. Chun Fei knew that Wuxia had been working on a new book, but she didn't know how many words Wuxia had written. She couldn't help but widen her eyes. You finished? Wuxia shook his head and replied, It's less than half, but it's very fast to write. As he spoke, Wuxia stood up with Chun Fei in his arms. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go back to sleep. He wasn't satisfied before and wanted to enjoy it again. Chun Fei felt Wuxia's passion, and she giggled, her eyes extremely charming. Tonight was not going to be peaceful. Chapter 705. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already mid-October. Wuxia spent the whole of September and early October basically busy with the filming of TV series. He spent more time in Huairou Film and Television City than at home. Because he was too busy, he even declined the invitation to perform at Beijing Television's National Day Party. The main reason was that You from the Star was too popular. Since its broadcast, the ratings have been high. It has broken through the category of phenomenal TV series and broken records in China and South Korea. The schedule of 2 episodes a week has put a lot of pressure on the crew. In order to ensure quality, overtime is a common thing. As the male and female protagonists, Wuxia and Chun Fei don't have much free time. However, in mid-October, Wuxia still managed to squeeze out a few days. He was going to the United States. There are 2 main reasons for Wuxia to fly to the United States this time. First of all, the listing of online crowdfunding on NASDAQ in the United States has already made progress, and it can even be said that success is imminent, requiring him, the founder and owner of 10% of the shares, to go to the other side of the ocean. Li Mushi, who had been planning the listing of online crowdfunding in the United States earlier, made more than a dozen phone calls to Wuxia, and finally threatened him that if he didn't come, she would fly back to Beijing in person to teach him a lesson. Not to mention Wuxia's personal friendship with Li Mushi and Li Mubai. His development since his debut has been smooth, and has not experienced too many twists and turns. He is more or less indebted to the shelter of the big tree known as the Li family. Otherwise, it would be strange if no one covets someone like Wuxia, who has no background and has done so many profitable businesses. Therefore, it is reasonable to say that Wuxia should also help Li Mushi solve the problem. After all, if online crowdfunding goes public, his 10% shares will be worth at least hundreds of millions, and it's US dollars. Secondly, Wuxia also has plans to visit the United States to find a first-class special effects company that can cooperate with him for a long time to improve the strength of Chun Fei Media in this regard. Special effects production was an industry that required long-term investment, and it was also an industry where money flowed like water. It was impossible to rush for quick success. The most important thing was that talents did not fall from the sky. They needed to be carefully cultivated and accumulated. Once they reached an agreement with Marika, Chun Fei Media would arrange for batches of personnel to study in Marika and gradually improve the standard of special effects production. At present, the special effects team under Chun Fei Media can barely cope with the production of special effects for a TV series like You from the Star, but it is much worse for a big movie. The filming of The Smiling Proud Wanderer was already on the schedule, so the cooperation training plan couldn't be delayed any longer. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good for them to cram at the last minute. Beijing International Airport, Terminal T1. At the security checkpoint, the couple who were about to part were still reluctant to part. Chun Fei adjusted Wuxia's collar for the last time and said, "Call me first when you arrive in the United States." "Got it?" Wuxia smiled bitterly and said, "I promise that when I arrive there, the first thing I will do after I get off the plane is to call you to tell you that I am safe." Chun Fei had said the same words several times, as if he would go to the United States and never come back. In fact, this time Wuxia would only stay in the United States for 5 or 6 days at most. Then go through the security checkpoint quickly. Chun Fei was finally satisfied. He stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. He said, "I will wait for you to come back." Lu Chun nodded, picked up his luggage, and went to the security checkpoint with his assistant. When passing through the security checkpoint, he turned around and waved at Chun Fei. The latter blew him a kiss. After passing the security checkpoint, Lu Chun and his assistant waited in the VIP lounge for more than half an hour and successfully boarded the direct flight from Beijing to New York in the United States. He boarded the flight of Jinmei Airlines, the second largest airline in the United States. He boarded the latest Boeing 798, which had just been put into operation. The Boeing 798 was a new generation intercontinental passenger plane, launched by the Boeing company. It could carry more than 400 passengers at the same time, and its flight speed was close to the speed of sound. It only took a little more than 10 hours to fly from Beijing to New York. The company booked business class seats for Lu Chun and his assistant because Jinmei Airlines' Boeing 798 flights were very popular. If they were late, the first-class seats would have long been sold out. However, the facilities in the business class of the 798 were no less than the first-class seats of ordinary flights. A person of Lu Chun's height could also sit comfortably. The cabin also provided satellite internet service, so the journey was not lonely. This time Lu Chun brought an assistant to the United States. Unlike many celebrities who like to be surrounded by people, Lu Chun had always been very low-key when he traveled. He usually only had one assistant, at most 2 or 3. This time he was going to the United States, mainly for business matters, so he did not bring Zhang Xiaofeng, who had been following him, but asked the company to arrange another assistant for him. The assistant was named Wang Yan, 32 years old this year. She had studied in the United States for many years, and had a double master's degree in finance and law. She had just returned to China the year before last. Wang Yan had nothing to do with the entertainment industry, and she was not an employee of Chunfei Media. She was temporarily hired by Lu Shi through her connections to help Lu Chun deal with business affairs in the United States. She was considered a business assistant. Wang Yan's appearance was very beautiful. Although she was in her 30s, because of good maintenance, she looked 27 or 28 years old. Her figure was also first class. But she was not the kind of pure good-looking vase. She was very smart and powerful. She currently worked in a business agency. Because this company had a business cooperation with Chunfei Media, she had dealings with Lu Shi. Lu Shi had a deep impression of Wang Yan, so she specifically asked her for help this time. After all, this time Lu Chun was going abroad to negotiate. Lu Shi had no experience in this area and was powerless. She was afraid that Lu Chun would be cheated and could not guarantee her own interests, so she looked for Wang Yan. Therefore, in terms of treatment, Wang Yan was different from ordinary assistants. She sat in business class with Lu Chun. Most of the people in business class were foreigners with blonde hair and blue eyes. Wang Yan first met Lu Chun 2 days ago. She had no interest in pop music, movies, and TV. Although she knew what kind of person Lu Chun was, she did not have any thoughts about Lu Chun. However, Lu Chun was a big star. Out of curiosity and the needs of work, after sitting down, Wang Yan tried to find some topics to talk to him. After all, the two would be in the United States for a few days. They could establish a good relationship and get along well. After chatting, Lu Yan found that Lu Chun did not have the slightest air of a big star. He was almost like an ordinary boy next door, so the two sides quickly became familiar. Chapter 706. Wang Yan is very eloquent and likes to travel. She is very knowledgeable. She talked to Lu Chun about the interesting things and food she encountered on her journey, which made Lu Chun listen with relish. Of course, Lu Chun doesn't have any thoughts about Wang Yan. Although the latter is mature and beautiful, there is no shortage of beautiful women in the entertainment circle. Naturally, he can look at her indifferently, but chatting with her is also a very pleasant thing. After the plane took off, the two chatted for an hour and called each other sister and brother. Wang Yan talked to Lu Chun about interesting travel stories, and Lu Chun told her some anecdotes in the circle. The two sides interact. Then Wang Yan asked curiously, "Lu Chun, how much money can a star like you make in a year?" She added, "It doesn't matter if you don't say, I just want to know a little bit." In fact, domestic and international stars have income rankings, but this kind of list is usually nonsense because there are many hidden rich people, and the income of stars is very complicated. In addition to performance pay, there are advertising endorsements, program production, publicity activities, and so on. Some stars even have to eat with others to earn money. Lu Chun thought about it and replied, 1 or 200 million. In fact, his income from all aspects last year and this year added up to at least 7 or 800 million, not including the shares of several companies, but there is no need to shake it all out. 1 or 200 million. Wang Yan couldn't help but say, if I make that much money, I will retire directly and travel around the world. Lu Chun smiled and said, if you really make that much money, maybe you won't think that way. Wang Yan shook her head. I am different from you stars. I don't have high requirements for life. In fact, I have already thought about it. No matter how much money I make, I will retire at the age of 40. Lu Chen's heart moved and said, Sister Yan, come to our company. Maybe you can retire a few years earlier. Lu Shi told him that Wang Yan is a very good financial and business talent. Although Chunfei Media is a company in the entertainment industry, Lu Chen's industry is not limited to the entertainment industry. So if possible, let him rope in more people in the United States and see if he can poach Wang Yan. Wang Yan pursed her lips and smiled. I'll think about it. She was really a little tempted. Lu Chen himself could earn 1 or 200 million yuan. How bad could the company he owned be? Chunfei Media was very famous in the industry. Lu Chen didn't force it. It was enough for him to make it clear. He changed the topic and talked about something else. After a long flight, the Boeing 798 finally entered the United States. The flight took off from Beijing, passed through Russian territory, entered Canada, and finally went to New York in the United States. It arrived at 8:35 p.m. On time. They would arrive at their destination in 2 to 3 hours. It was dinner time, and the air stewardess had delivered a sumptuous dinner. Lu Chun had just slept for 2 hours. After waking up, he finished his dinner in high spirits. Then he asked the flight attendant for 2 cups of black tea, and continued to chat with Wang Yan. But this time they talked about business, mainly involving Lu Chen's 10% shares in the crowdfunding website. 90% of the shares of the crowdfunding website were originally in the hands of Li Mushi, or more accurately, the Li family. As the founder, Lu Chun only retained 10% of the non-dilutable founder's shares. Later, Li Mushi sold a small part of the shares to deal with the financial problems encountered in the process of website expansion. Because Lu Chun has long been involved in the company's operation, he has always maintained a detached attitude. However, if the crowdfunding website wants to be listed on NASDAQ in the United States, it is impossible for Li Mushi to retain more than 50% of the high proportion of shares. It is necessary to sell more shares and introduce investments from various parties. And these investments, of course, are dominated by U.S. capital, which is part of the rules of the game. To seek a successful listing, Li Mushi's shares need to be reduced by a large part, and Lu Chen's 10% of the founder's shares can't all be held in his hands, so he needs to go to the United States. Li Mushi will certainly not deliberately pit Lu Chun, but if Lu Chun wants to ensure that his own interests are not damaged, then in this equity negotiation, he needs a professional like Wang Yan to come forward. Wang Yan admires Lu Chun very much. She thinks that the crowdfunding website is a very genius business model. So many business elites didn't expect it, but it was created by him, a musician. It's really a bit incredible. She also feels sorry for Lu Chun. If he hadn't given up so many shares, once the crowdfunding website was successfully listed on NASDAQ in the United States, Lu Chun would immediately join the ranks of the domestic rich list. In this regard, Lu Chun just smiled. He has the memory wealth of a world and countless business ideas. It is really not difficult to make money, but that is not the career he wants to pursue. He likes singing, music, making TV and movies, and likes the love and support of his fans. Bang! While chatting with Wang Yan, Lu Chun suddenly heard a sound similar to the sound of a champagne bottle cork being opened. Then, from the economy class in the back, came one after another screams. Something happened. An ominous feeling suddenly welled up in Lu Chen's heart, and he suddenly stood up. Not only Lu Chun, but Wang Yan sitting next to him and other passengers in business class also realized that the situation was not right. Some stood up like Lu Chun, and some sat in their seats and turned their heads to look around in horror. Gunshots. I heard gunshots. Someone said in a trembling voice in English. Oh my God! There are more than 400 passengers on this flight, and the plane is flying at an altitude of 30,000 feet. Once an accident occurs, it is likely to result in the destruction of the plane and the death of the passengers. His words made the passengers in business class despair. It's not a hijacking, is it? A Jinmei stewardess who was in business class looked pale and said calmly, "Please sit down and fasten your seatbelts, our crew." Bang! Another gunshot rang out. And this time the gunshot was much clearer than before. This time there were screams of horror in business class. Lu Chun quickly leaned down and said to Wang Yan, "Sister Yan, you protect yourself here, I will go and have a look." Wang Yan suddenly turned pale with fright. Lu Chun. Without waiting for her to dissuade him, Lu Chun had already turned around and rushed toward the economy class. He needs to know what happened over there. He doesn't want to passively sit and wait. His fate must be in his own hands. Almost in a breath, Lu Chun rushed through the door between the two cabins and rushed into the economy class. He saw at a glance that in the middle of the economy class, a burly man holding a pistol was shouting at the passengers on the right seat. There was also a man in a suit lying on the aisle, and the other passengers were all holding their heads, shrinking in their seats, shivering like frightened quails. Chapter 707. The scene he saw when he rushed into the economy class made Lu Chun realize that something big had happened. The burly foreign man was holding a real gun. The two gunshots he heard just now were also real, and they had caused casualties. Lu Chun's first feeling was that it was incredible, because domestic airport security was notoriously strict around the world. International flights needed to undergo double security checks, and Beijing International Airport's facilities were even more top-notch. So how could a real gun be brought onto the plane? Secondly, the state of the man with the gun was not right. He was waving the gun to threaten the passengers. He actually wanted the other party to open the innermost safety door. Lu Chun's English was still very good, so he was sure that he didn't hear wrong. If this was a hijacking, then there was a problem with the common sense of the hijacker. When the plane was flying in the air, the safety door couldn't be opened. In addition to being locked, there was also the problem of the difference in air pressure between the inside and outside. Even if it was really open, did he want to jump out from the inside? Or did he want to take all the passengers on the plane down with him? The man with the gun was extremely manic. His face was ferocious and his eyes were red. Under the threat of his gun, the passenger was scared out of his wits. He cried subconsciously, Don't kill me." Seeing such a situation, Lu Chun's mind turned. He didn't have time to think about the strangeness of it, so he sped up and rushed to the man with the gun. Lu Chun's move was undoubtedly very dangerous. He was unarmed and the other party was holding a gun. No matter how good his skills were, he couldn't stop a bullet. But Lu Chun had no other choice. He was saving himself by saving people. Once the plane had an accident, no one would survive. The huge sense of crisis made Lu Chun's body secrete a lot of adrenaline. He became extremely calm, and his speed completely exceeded his usual limit. In the blink of an eye, he rushed a distance of more than 10 meters and approached the man with the gun. However, although the man with the gun had lost control of his emotions, he had an instinctive vigilance. He was almost aware of the approaching danger in an instant. Without thinking, he turned around and pulled the trigger at Lu Chun. Bang! The third shot. The shot was so sudden, and the man with the gun did not hesitate at all. However, Lu Chun was already prepared. The moment he saw the opponent turn around and raise his arm, he abruptly dove forward, narrowly avoiding the incoming bullet. At this moment, Lu Chun had never felt so close to death. In the next moment, he landed on the ground and rolled half a circle forward. Immediately after, he pushed himself off the ground with his hands and leaped up. Both of his legs flew out at the same time, kicking fiercely towards the spear-wielding man from below. This movement was incredible. Lu Chun's left hand was on the floor of the cabin, and his body was already in the air. His right leg was extended straight up for a high kick, and his left leg was half bent. It was a little like a rabbit kicking an eagle, but the difficulty was much higher. Pa! The spear-wielding man's first shot at Lu Chun missed. He was obviously stunned. Just as he was about to aim again, Lu Chun's right foot had already heavily kicked his wrist. The power of this kick was so fierce that only a gotcha sound was heard. The spear-wielding man's wrist was abruptly broken. The pistol that was originally tightly held flew out of his hand and fell on the shoulder of a passenger a few meters away. At this moment, the economy class was once again filled with screams and cries. "I'm going to kill you." The spear-wielding man had lost his weapon and his right hand, but he was still very fierce. The intense pain made him fall into complete madness. He opened his arms and fiercely pounced towards Lu Chun, who was still on the ground. However, without a lethal weapon, why would Lu Chun give the opponent a chance to counterattack? Seeing the man's burly body pounce on him, he, who was half lying on the floor, immediately raised his leg and gave another heavy kick. This was a rabbit kicking an eagle. Bang! His legs heavily kicked the burly man's lower abdomen and suddenly kicked him out. Lu Chun took the opportunity to jump up and his heart was calm. The burly man was also amazing. His physical fitness was excellent. After being kicked in the abdomen by Lu Chun, he was still able to struggle to get up. Like a wounded beast, he let out a low growl and persevered and pounced at Lu Chun again. He waved his intact left hand and punched at Lu Chun. This punch was undoubtedly a great threat to ordinary people, but it was far from enough to deal with Lu Chun. Lu Chun nimbly dodged sideways and a beautiful right hook fiercely hit the opponent's jaw. Then, he raised his right leg like lightning and kicked the burly man's abdomen again. Under the heavy blows, the burly man finally couldn't hold on and his head fell to the ground. This time he completely lost the ability to resist and fainted on the spot. "It's over." Lu Chun couldn't help but take a long breath, but he didn't relax. He immediately rushed over and pulled out the burly man's belt, then turned him over and tied his hands with the belt. After confirming that the murderer had been subdued, Lu Chun stood up again and said loudly, "Everyone is safe." Because most of the passengers on this flight were foreigners, he shouted in English. The fight between Lu Chun and the burly man ended so quickly that many of the frightened passengers didn't immediately react. After a while, they confirmed that they were really safe. Then the whole cabin exploded. Some people cried loudly, some thanked God for their blessings, some applauded Lu Chun for subduing the murderer, and some took out their mobile phones to film. It was chaos inside. Several frightened flight attendants ran over. They maintained order while treating the people who fell to the ground. A total of 2 people were injured and fell to the ground. One of them was just knocked out by the burly man, but the other person was shot in the abdomen and was bleeding. The situation was quite critical. Lu Chun didn't stay idle. He borrowed ropes from other passengers and tied the burly man firmly. The process of the fight just now told Lu Chun that the man was definitely not an ordinary person. He was able to defeat the man completely because of a surprise attack. There was a lot of luck involved. So even if the man was unconscious, he didn't dare to be careless. Several passengers volunteered to help Lu Chun tie up the man, and also kicked the man a few times to vent their anger. Almost all the people on the plane were buried with him. After solving the culprit, Lu Chun helped the flight attendants treat the wounded who were shot. Through a conversation with the flight attendants, he learned that the wounded person was a plainclothes air police officer on the flight. He was attacked in the process of stopping the burly man's murder. The pistol was the air police's gun. One of Lu Chun's big questions was solved. The air police's gun and bullets were specially made. The power was much weaker than ordinary pistols. It couldn't penetrate the cabin wall of the plane, but the lethality to people at close range was not low. The air police officer was seriously injured. Whether he could survive in the end, it really depended on their God's blessing. But more than 400 other passengers and crew members, including Lu Chun, could continue to live well. This was more important than anything. Chapter 708. Flight UD-725 failed to reach New York and landed at the nearest Air Force base. When a dangerous situation occurred in the economy class, the captain immediately activated the anti-hijacking plan, alerted the air traffic control, and switched the plane from autopilot mode to manual control, preparing for a forced landing. For the sake of safety, an intercontinental aircraft like the Boeing 798 has high-definition cameras inside and outside the cabin. The captain can observe the situation inside the cabin at any time. Although the murderer was subdued by Lu Chun, the alarm has already been issued, so it must be dealt with in accordance with the prescribed procedures. Therefore, the plane made an emergency landing at a military airport owned by the U.S. Air Force. When the plane landed, Lu Chun returned to his seat. He received extraordinary treatment. Jean Mei's flight attendants took turns to give him free tea and snacks. When the other passengers in the business class understood what happened, they shook hands with Lu Chan and expressed their gratitude and admiration to Lu Chan. Among them, 3 beautiful flight attendants secretly gave Lu Chan a note with a phone number on it. Wang Yan couldn't help but exclaim, "You are now a hero." She was still a bit shaken. When the shooting happened, Wang Yan was really scared. She had seen the news of hijacking and air crashes on TV before, but she never thought that the same thing would happen on her own flight. Things that seemed so far away before. Only when she experienced it personally did she know how terrifying it was. What made her feel even more incredible was that in such a dangerous situation, Lu Chan actually rushed over. This simply subverted Wang Yan's worldview. Lu Chan was very young, very handsome, and a well-known idol in the country. He also had a heavenly queen-level girlfriend. He could earn 1 or 200 million a year, which could be described as having a bright future. The richer one is, the more afraid they are of death. However, in a critical moment, Lu Chan disregarded his own safety and went to deal with an armed murderer with his bare hands. What kind of courage does this require? Wang Yan didn't think that Lu Chan was a brainless and reckless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have his current identity and status. What drove him to do this? Was it passion or was it courage? Wang Yan couldn't guess Lu Chan's thoughts at that time. She could only sigh in admiration. Lu Chan smiled and said, "I'm not a hero. If something happens on the plane, I won't be able to escape." Wang Yan shook her head. How could it be so simple? During the conversation, the Boeing 798 landed steadily on the airport and entered the ground taxiing stage. The sky was already bright. There was a difference of more than 10 hours between the United States and China. So the morning flight from Beijing International Airport would still arrive in the morning. A faint morning mist shrouded the land. Through the porthole, he could see vehicles with flashing lights parked beside the runway outside. There were police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, anti-riot vehicles, and so on. It was exactly a scene from an American blockbuster. Some of the more reckless Americans took pictures with their phones. Now that they were safe, everything that had happened before was undoubtedly a very exciting experience for them. After taking a photo, he could go back and brag about it. When the plane stopped, the hatch opened, and immediately a team of heavily armed SWAT officers rushed in and quickly took control of the entire plane along with more than 400 passengers on board. This was the basic procedure for anti-hijacking and terrorist attacks. The seriously injured air marshal was sent to first aid. The pistol, as the most important evidence, was taken away by the SWAT officers. Then the passengers were arranged to get off the plane in an orderly manner. Moreover, under their strict control, carry-on luggage couldn't be taken away for search, and all the passengers' mobile phones were confiscated. Although the passengers were treated rather rudely, no one complained. They were already extremely lucky to have survived such a terrible disaster. Lu Chan and Wang Yan also got off the plane, but Lu Chan received different treatment from ordinary passengers. He was politely invited to an office in the airport by a policeman wearing a black bulletproof vest. In this office, Lu Chan was questioned by a middle-aged man who claimed to be an FBA officer, mainly to understand what happened at the time. Because he stopped the murderer in time, the FBA man was very polite, but the content of his inquiry was extremely detailed, including Lu Chan's identity, family, purpose of going to the United States, and so on. Lu Chan sipped the hot coffee and answered all the questions very cooperatively. The questioning lasted for more than an hour before the FBA man was finally satisfied. "Mr. Lu Chan." He got up and extended his hand to Lu Chan and said, "On behalf of the United States of America, I sincerely thank you for your heroic behavior, and thank you for your cooperation." Lu Chan shook hands with him and said, "Thank you." The FBA man continued, "In addition, please keep in touch with us at all times. Without our permission, please do not leave the United States for the time being." This was a little helpless, but opposition was certainly invalid. Lu Chan didn't want to make trouble for himself. "Okay, I understand." A smile appeared on the FBA man's stiff and serious face. "Welcome to the United States." This welcome ceremony was a bit too big. Lu Chan didn't have the strength to complain, so he could only nod and smile. He suddenly thought of something and asked, "Can I call my family?" His phone was also taken away. The FBA man hesitated for a moment, But he still made an exception and allowed Lu Chan to use the phone in the office. Lu Chan first called Chan Fei. Of course, Chan Fei didn't know what had happened on the UD-725 flight. She thought that Lu Chan had already arrived in New York, and wondered why Lu Chan didn't use his own phone to make the call. Considering that Chan Fei would know the truth sooner or later, Lu Chan didn't hide it and told her everything. After listening to it, Chan Fei was stunned for a long time. Then she sobbed and said that she wanted to fly over immediately to accompany him. She almost lost Lu Chan. Lu Chan could only comfort her, saying that he was fine. After a long time, he finally calmed his girlfriend down. Then Lu Chan told Lu Shi that he was safe and told his sister to tell his mother that before the news came out, the company should keep quiet for the time being. As a result, Lu Shi also said that she wanted to fly to the United States. Lu Chan could only comfort her again. His international long-distance call lasted for nearly an hour. After that, Lu Chan and Wang Yan were able to meet again and get their luggage. But their phones could only be returned in New York. Junmei Airlines sent 2 new planes to transport the stranded passengers to New York. The original Boeing 798 had to go through a strict safety inspection before it could fly again. After such a torment, when Lu Chan arrived in New York, it was already noon in the United States. The news of the UD-725 flight accident had already exploded in the media. Chapter 709. The United States was undoubtedly the most powerful country in the world. Its economic and military strength was the best in the world. However, since the end of World War II, Uncle Sam, whose national power had been expanding, had become more and more fond of playing the role of the world's policeman, which had attracted too much hatred for them. Since the beginning of the 21st century, with the increasing complexity of the international situation, the domestic security situation of the United States had been severely challenged. Several sensational terrorist attacks made the American people feel pain in their bones. On July 15, 2012, a flight from San Francisco to New York was hijacked and crashed in Missouri. All 257 passengers and 12 crew members on board were killed, shocking the entire world. On December 24, 2014, on Christmas Eve, a Boeing 737 from Houston to Los Angeles exploded and made an emergency landing. 105 passengers were killed, and 27 passengers were seriously injured. This once again stung the hearts of the Americans. After an investigation, it was found that someone had planted a timed plastic bomb on the plane. The bloody lessons made the Americans extremely sensitive to aviation safety. The United States had the largest number of civil aircraft in the world, carrying more than 1 billion air passengers every year. On average, every American took 3 flights a year. Because of this, the news of the suspected hijacking of Flight UD-725 could not be hidden for long. The resourceful American media quickly received a tip-off from an informant, which was then immediately broadcasted by the largest television station in the United States, CNK. Due to the sensitive nature of aviation safety, coupled with the fact that the hijacked Flight UD-725 was an international flight, and the model was Boeing's latest 798 Dreamliner, with more than 400 passengers on board, it was truly a major incident. It could be imagined that if the plane had an accident, it was likely to be the worst aviation accident in the history of the United States. The news that was not completely confirmed spread on the internet like a plague. The unscrupulous media swarmed like flies smelling blood. The phone of the Federal Aviation Administration was inundated, and the website of Junmei Airlines was directly paralyzed. Then all kinds of rumors appeared in the media. Some said that the plane might have crashed and the government blocked the news. Some said that there was no crash, but it had been hijacked and was in negotiations. In short, there were all kinds of rumors. Under such circumstances, in order to avoid causing panic among the public, the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) held a press conference and revealed some accurate information. Flight UD-725 encountered an accident on the way to New York, but the situation was quickly and effectively controlled. One crew member was injured, and the plane had safely landed at an Air Force base. All the passengers were safe and sound. The FAA officials further revealed that 439 passengers and 17 crew members would take 2 planes provided by Junmei Airlines, and were expected to return to New York at noon. The FAA's response was undoubtedly very fast, and it promptly calmed the public's panic and dispelled many irresponsible rumors. However, the media was not willing to give up. They could not dig out more information from the FAA, so they immediately turned their attention to the passengers returning to New York. New York's media outlets, television stations, newspapers, magazines, and news websites swarmed to New York International Airport in an attempt to dig up first-hand information from the passengers of Flight UD-725. It was under such circumstances that Liu Chan took a transfer flight from Jinmei Airlines to New York. Liu Chan was treated like a hero on the plane. He was first recognized by several passengers, and then all the passengers applauded and cheered for him, and the stewardesses were even more enthusiastic. During the ensuing flight of more than an hour, Liu Chan had no time to rest. When he was about to arrive in New York, all the temporarily detained communication tools of all the passengers, including him, were returned. As soon as the plane landed, Liu Chan called Li Mushi. "Thank God. You're fine." Li Mushi was relieved when she received the call. "You have no idea how worried I was for the past few hours." She only found out that Liu Chan's flight had an accident when she saw the news on CNK. She was really worried at the time. Fortunately, Liu Shi called in time to inform Liu Chan that he was safe and sound. Now that she heard Liu Chan's voice, Li Mushi's heart was finally at ease. If Liu Chan had really met with an accident, she would definitely feel guilty for the rest of her life. She was the one who called Liu Chan more than a dozen times, forcing Liu Chan to fly to the United States at this time. No one could have predicted that a flight accident would happen, but if it was not for her, there would not have been a problem. Thank God Liu Chan was fine. Liu Chan said with a smile, "It's just a little accident. Where are you?" Li Mushi said, "I'm at the New York International Airport. There are a lot of people here now. I guess all the reporters in New York have come. I can only wait for you outside the exit of the flight." The voice on her phone was very noisy. The airport was really chaotic. In fact, it was obvious that, except for the media reporters who wanted to see the world in chaos, the relatives and friends of the passengers who could come must have come. Only when they encountered such a big event did they know the value of life. After chatting with Li Mushi for a while, the plane had stopped and the captain reminded the passengers to get off the plane through the radio. He finally said, "I believe that God is with us. He has sent us a real hero. Thank you, Mr. Liu Chan. Good luck to everyone." There was a sudden warm applause and whistles in the plane. All of them were for Liu Chan. Liu Chan smiled to express his gratitude. He turned his head and saw that Wang Yan, who was sitting next to him, had just put away her mobile phone. The latter's face was full of tears. Noticing Liu Chan's concerned gaze, she was very embarrassed and wiped her tears. She said, "I just called my mother. She was crying very hard and asked me to go back immediately. There is also news in China." With such a big event, as soon as the news came out in the United States, it would definitely be known in China. One could imagine how anxious the family members of the passengers who took the UD-725 flight were. Most of the passengers on the UD-725 flight were foreigners, mainly Americans returning to China, but there were also Chinese and Chinese. Liu Chan nodded in understanding. "If you want to go back, I will ask someone to book you the next flight." Under such circumstances, he couldn't force Wang Yan to continue working for him. No need. But Wang Yan shook her head and said firmly, "I'm fine. I will persuade my family. You don't have to worry. Everything will go according to the original plan." Liu Chan smiled bitterly. Now he couldn't follow the planned itinerary. He originally planned to stay in the United States for 4 or 5 days, but now he estimated that 10 days might not even be enough. To leave the country and return to China, he first needed the consent of the FBI, but since he was already here, he had to adapt to the situation. Let's go. Chapter 7:10. Outside the exit of the B3 passenger passage at New York International Airport, there was already a sea of people. Many reporters carrying long and short cameras were mixed in the crowd, and there were also TV reporters broadcasting live, making the entire hall seem chaotic. Most of them were people who were anxiously waiting for the safe return of their relatives and friends. They included the elderly, children, and pregnant women with big bellies. Some were holding signs with their names written on them, and some were holding flowers. A large number of security personnel were arranged at the airport to maintain order, and there were also heavily armed police officers at the scene. When the first batch of passengers of Flight U-725 walked out of the passage, the crowd outside suddenly burst into loud cheers and shouts. The reporters desperately squeezed through the crowd, and the clicking sound of camera shutters accompanied by the flashes of lights could be heard one after another. Family reunion and friends and relatives seeing each other was undoubtedly the most touching moment. Many people shed tears. After experiencing the thrilling moment on the flight, they understood the value of life. This was also the moment for reporters to show their skills. Lu Chan and Wang Yan were also stopped by a reporter, but Lu Chan pretended not to understand English and waved his hand to refuse the other party's interview. He quickly squeezed through the crowd with Wang Yan and went outside. The reporter holding the microphone shrugged and didn't care too much. He turned to look for a new target. He certainly didn't know what he had missed. Lu Chan. A shout full of surprise let Lu Chan smoothly find Li Mushi, who came to greet him. Lu Chan smiled and said, "Sister Mushi." After not seeing each other for a while, Li Mushi's figure was a little slimmer. Her skin was tanned a lot in the United States, but it looked healthier. She was wearing a white and green floral dress, which was very feminine. Li Mushi quickly stepped forward, opened her arms and gave him a big hug. This hug was quite erotic, which made Lu Chan a little embarrassed. Li Mushi let go of her hand, clenched her fist and hit him on the chest. "You really scared me," Lu Chan said with a smile. "Aren't I fine now?" Li Mushi shook her head and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to the hotel first." Li Mushi drove over in person, a white four-door Maserati coupe, carrying Lu Chan and Wang Yan to Manhattan, New York. Manhattan was the most densely populated of the 5 boroughs of New York City, about the size of New York County. It was surrounded by the East River, the Hudson River, and the Harlem River. It also included some small islands and an enclave on the mainland. This area, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, was described as the economic and cultural center of the entire United States. It was also the location of the headquarters of the United Nations. Wall Street in Lower Manhattan had the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. In addition, its real estate market is also the most expensive in the world, and many multinational companies have set up their headquarters here. Li Mushi booked a Hilton hotel in the center of Manhattan for Lu Chan. She booked a long-term business suite in this hotel and sat in command of the battle of the online crowdfunding listing on NASDAQ. For a young China internet company like the online crowdfunding, although it has shown good development prospects and profitability, if it wants to be listed on NASDAQ, it has to go through many games and give up part of the benefits to get what it wants. The elites of Wall Street are absolutely the kind of people who eat people without spitting out the bones. Li Mushi has been in New York for some time, and now she has made a breakthrough. Otherwise, she would not have brought Lu Chan to the United States. "Are you satisfied with this room?" After entering the door, Li Mushi said, "If you are not satisfied, we can change it." Lu Chan said with a smile, "What's not satisfied? It's already very good here. Sorry to trouble you, Sister Mushi." Lu Chan used to live in a 10-square-meter basement for a year or two. Now he lives in a 5-star hotel in Manhattan. What can he be dissatisfied with? He doesn't have that kind of celebrity disease. "What trouble?" Li Mushi waved her hand and said, "You rest first and get rid of the jet lag. I'll invite you to dinner in the evening." Lu Chan didn't treat her as an outsider. "Okay." Li Mushi nodded. She suddenly hugged Lu Chan and kissed Lu Chan on the face. Lu Chan was stunned. Li Mushi giggled and said, "Don't think too much. I just want to kiss you. I find you very cute." After that, she turned and left, closing the door. Lu Chan touched his face, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He took out his cell phone and called Chanfair first. After telling his lover and family that he was safe again, he went to the bathroom to take a good bath, then lay down on the bed in the bedroom and soon fell asleep. At the same time that Lu Chan fell asleep, the news and online media circles in the United States could be described as turbulent. After the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) held a press conference on Flight UD-725, the sensitivity of related news had dropped to a lower level. After all, there was no terrorist attack or plane crash. Only one crew member was injured, and all the passengers returned safely. No matter how big the incident was, it was very limited. However, the media reporters, through on-site interviews at the airport, learned that there was a shooting incident on the flight. The real situation was not as simple as it seemed. What interested the reporters the most was the hero that every passenger was talking about. The hero who stood up and stopped the murderer at the critical moment. And it was a Chinese man. Many details of the incident were exposed, and the public finally knew how dangerous the situation was. An irrational madman robbed the air marshal's pistol, injured the air marshal, and threatened the passengers to open the safety door. If it weren't for this hero who acted in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Unfortunately, all the passengers could not provide photos or video information. Their mobile phones and cameras were confiscated by the FBI. Even if they were bold enough to take some photos at the time, they were all cleaned up. Everyone was in a different position, so the details were different, and some were even contradictory. For the media, only the narratives of the people involved were obviously lacking enough authenticity and intuition. Who was this hero? What did he look like? How did he stop the murderer at the time? It was difficult to clearly describe. There was also the murderer. Of course, the FAA and the FBI definitely had the most detailed information, but it was basically impossible to get photos and videos from these two. Just as the media reporters were at their wits' end, hoping to dig out more truth, the largest social media network in the United States, Audiobook, actually posted a secretly recorded video of the incident of Flight UD-725. This 3-minute video instantly shocked the entire internet, and at the same time it was like a treasure to the media. Chapter 711. Adams was a freelance geek. Like most other geeks, he regarded innovation, technology, and fashion as the meaning of his life. He was willing to make his own contribution to the modern electronic society and culture. In early October, he was invited by a Fortune 500 internet company to participate in a geek convention held in the capital of China. Then he spent several days in Beijing, visiting famous tourist attractions such as the Forbidden City and the Great Wall. After he was done, Adams booked a ticket to return to the United States on Jinmei Airlines. He still had a geek party to attend in New York, so he took Flight UD-725. At the time of the accident, Adams was sitting in the 7th row of the economy class, near the aisle seat. When he realized that something was wrong, he immediately took out the Selfie Go sports camera that he carried with him, crouched in his seat, and secretly took photos. In fact, Adams was not the only one who secretly took photos in the economy class. Many passengers also turned on the camera on their mobile phones, but they were not as lucky as Adams. First of all, the Go sports camera that Adams used was a high-end product. Not only did it have high pixels, but it also came with optical zoom and triple optical anti-shake function. Therefore, the quality of the video he secretly took was far superior to that of a mobile phone. He was also very courageous. When the burly man fired, he still risked his life to continue filming, so he captured the most complete process of the entire incident. After the secretly filming was completed, Adams quietly copied the video stored in the camera to the USB drive, and then he stuffed the USB drive into his sneakers. The facts proved Adams's cleverness. After the plane made an emergency landing, all the electronic devices of the passengers were confiscated by the FBI, including Adams' Go sports camera. When he got back his camera, the memory card in it was actually replaced with a new one, and the capacity was doubled. The reason was very simple. Adams recorded the scene, and it was not safe to just delete the video. There was a possibility that the technology could recover it, so the FBI simply replaced the original. On the surface, of course, Adams scolded the FBI, but after getting off the plane, he immediately returned to his residence in New York, simply edited the video stored in the USB drive, and uploaded it to his Audiobook account. The video was labeled UD-725, Jinmei Airlines, Hero Truth, etc. Audiobook was the largest social network in the United States and the world with more than 1.5 billion registered users. It was also the world's largest photo and video sharing website, with more than 500 million photos uploaded by users every day. At the moment, the biggest hot topic on Audiobook was undoubtedly the UD-725 incident. This was also the place where all kinds of rumors took place. Before the FAA's official statement was announced, countless news and rumors had already spread on Audiobook, causing people to panic. After the FAA held a press conference, the heat of the incident dropped significantly. After all, there was no hijacking or terrorist attack, so everyone paid less attention to it. But UD725 was undoubtedly the most popular search term on Audiobook today. Therefore, when Adam's high-definition video of the scene was uploaded for only half a minute, someone immediately noticed it and forwarded it. Then like a plague it spread on Audiobook. The number of clicks and reposts reached a terrifying level. It only took 10 minutes for it to reach the trending list on the homepage of Audiobook. This video caused a great sensation in the Audiobook circle. Countless media reporters heard the news and rushed to download it. At the same time, they desperately tried to contact Adams. When many Audiobook users saw this video for the first time, they first doubted its authenticity, because as a candid video, Adams shot it too well. Whether it was clarity, stability, or shooting angle, it was close to professional standards. It gave people the feeling that it was a posed shot. Moreover, the content of the video was also very shocking, especially the process of Liu Chan rushing toward the armed man. The scene of the latter shooting at Liu Chan was simply breathtaking. In such a dangerous situation, Liu Chan completed an incredible counterattack, knocking down the armed man with lightning speed, thus saving Flight U-725 and more than 400 passengers on the plane. Is this real? Could it be a prank made by some cameraman himself? Fuck, is this a clip from a movie? Don't try to fool me. It's too clear. Student Adams, please use some thought. Wouldn't it be more realistic if it's blurred? OMG, is it real or fake? This hero is from China? This doesn't make sense. Go eat *T. It's too fake. Whoever believes it is an idiot. I don't believe it either, however. These doubts and abusive comments were quickly slapped in the face. Because soon, media reporters confirmed through interviews with the passengers of the flight that the video was completely real. It was definitely not a staged shot or a scene from a certain movie or TV show. Then the resourceful CNK bought the copyright of the video from Adams at a high price and broadcast it on their news channel immediately. CNK was the largest TV station in the United States, and its news program was broadcast in more than 30 countries around the world. Its influence was undoubtedly very great. Therefore, when this video news was released, it not only caused a sensation in the United States but also had a certain impact around the world. It was rebroadcast by many authorized TV stations. As the initiator, Adams' personal circle in Audiobook was full of people. While everyone praised him for his courage and means, they were all asking who the hero in this video was. Adams responded quickly, saying that he did not know the name and nationality of the protagonist. He judged that it should be a Chinese sitting in business class. The specific situation was probably only known by the FAA and the FBI. In fact, at this time the FAA and the FBI were very embarrassed. The former had just announced that the incident was not serious, but the leaked video proved that their definition of the word serious had serious problems. The FBI's negligence allowed